And we know what Jesus was when he was a man on earth. What was his profession? Was he a doctor?
Carpenter.
He was a heavenly doctor, but what was Jesus' work?
Carpenter.
But that's his heaven. But when he was a man on earth,
Panday to si Lord
he was a
Jesus.
carpenter. Jesus
Panday to
was
siya.
a carpenter. Because we know Jesus is the foundation. Jesus is the foundation. But also the builder. Without us, without the carpenters, the workers, there's no building. Without Jesus, there's no building, heavenly building for us. And then once though I became, and Jesus came in, and it's like, oh, Jesus, please forgive me for my sins. I could feel right away, boom, the God coming in me. And so it's no longer me. I feel me in there because I'd rather go steal a chicken than have a dinner. I would rather. And where am I? There we go. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And now you can see, if you saw the intro, the picture I have on my, whatever that thing's called, is from the Philippines. My family in the Philippines, my brothers and sisters in Christ. And welcome today on a beautiful Sunday here in Northern California. A little cold this morning. I think it was like
that picture is why Joseph called you abroad.
He did. And I forgive him though. Yeah, because he did apologize. It's like, I'm joking with you. I gotta watch myself. Hello, Speedy Roman. He comes because he doesn't watch me. I don't think he wants me to watch myself because like my daughters, especially my one daughter who's like me the most, is she's always smiling when I'm around, or straight way laughing because she finds me so ridiculously funny. But as we get going, and I won't make any jokes that it's like 60 degrees here in California and I'm freezing. It was cold this morning. It was like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So living the life here, went to church, had a great worship service. Hopefully everybody else has. I just want to pray to God, Lord, that you use these words to show the joy that you give, show the love and faith and the fruit of the Spirit that comes from you, because I testify, and I'll testify every day That's not my natural nature. My natural nature is sinful and unclean. It is, um, not very nice. And as you guys have seen, I'm transparent, and sometimes I'm too transparent when I, get a little rough in our sparring and our arguing, and, Lord forgive me for those times that I've crossed the line, and, I hope those that I've offended, uh, take my apology, and, actually God uses it to show them that they need they need him also. So today, getting back Beavers part 2, because creation is the evidence for a creator. If I did one of my award-winning gardens, it was evidence of me. It wasn't evidence of the flowers, it wasn't evidence of the judges, it wasn't evidence of the viewers. It was evidence of the creator designer
But
of that
Dan,
garden.
wouldn't it be fair to say, or to hypothesis, that over, let's say, 4 billion years, it's possible that all of that matter could have arranged itself in the exact precise way you designed one of your award-winning yards?
Well, I don't wanna offend any of our friends. Sure, give it 10 billion years and it's gonna happen. When we know by the science that chaos it never brings forward order. Chaos is never the cause of complexity. And that again is scientific evidence. We don't believe in science. I've been accused of that. And I want to say, yes, right now, I want to tell everybody, I don't believe in science. I believe in knowledge. I believe because science is just knowledge. Why would I believe in a thing in science? I believe in experimentation, in observation, in repeatable science. But I believe that that is just information, just evidence that everybody has available to them, and it's up to them to get the conclusion, get the actual causes and effects. We all have the effects, but then you know to for me to tell an evolutionist, a godless evolutionist, that oh, you're ignorant, you don't have any evidence. That sounds good and it's hyperbole, but I would just say, here's the evidence. I have evidence. You have evidence. It's the same evidence. But what's our conclusion? And that's what we're going to get in today with, again, the awesome little rodent, the beaver. Actually, it's the second largest I've learned on the planet when it comes to rodents. And today, since last week, we kind of got on into the weeds. I think we had a storm come through that got off the subject, which was design, which was the awesomeness of God, or the awesomeness of design, which is the evidence, the effect we see. We see design. Even biologist Dr. Richard Dawkins saw design. He just takes the evidence and says it just appears to be design. It's really not design. And so his conclusion, though, was because it's the simplest. It was the simplest explanation of the evidence we have, because it would be more complex to say that God is involved, because then you'd have to say, where did God come from? And then who produced him, and who created him, who designed, on forever. And that would be complex. But that was kind of out of ignorance, his ignorance. Don't fault him for it. All of us say stupid things. And you too. Oh, wrong part. Wait, yep. We all say dumb things, but we know, though, that the creator, if there's a creator, we're putting that on. If there is a creator of the material universe, he would have to be outside of that universe. He could not be like they falsely, their fallacious argument that there's a magic man in the sky. Well, that implies that he's part of the universe. So God, having the creator, the thing that brought the universe into existence, had to be outside of time, space, and matter. And therefore, that is not a complex thing. That's a very simplistic thing, that this God, creator, is timeless. And what does the Bible tell us? And so this is not circular reasoning, because we're getting out of what a scientific observation that outside of time, space, and matter, you'd have to be timeless. And that's what the Bible says he is, because they'll say, oh, it was just a made up story. Well, they were smart guys then. They weren't those, because at one point I'm accused of following Bronze Aged sheep herders or whatever they'll say about these stupid people that lived thousands of years ago. But then on the other hand, they'd have to admit that, wow, that fantasy book they made up makes sense, because those, and they're like, oh, well, what about the other gods? Well, the other gods are all made up. And we know that because they have man's appearances. They have man's strengths, weaknesses, where the God of the Bible, who you would have to say is outside
Uh,
time, space, and matter.
I'll
Okay.
be right back, Dan. I have to step away for about 2 minutes, but I pinned the link in the
Oh, thank
chat,
you, guys.
and Claude is out in the comment section. So, Claude, come have this conversation
Not
with
yet.
our
Not yet.
fearless leader. Not yet. No.
Not yet.
You,
No, because
you
we're going to do a video first or two.
got
And
you.
again, not about mathematics. It's not the mathematics side. It's not about how much you need to build something. It is on the design itself, before the actual engineering, before what we would need to build what we're designing and wanting to create. And with that, then I'm going to run and jump. Where are we? No, you go. You're going to go a couple minutes. I'll see you in about an hour. So the videos aren't that long, so you better get back here. Let me see if this is the one. I will post this. Again, the beaver. This is the one. Wow, I did it right. Now if I just get it up there. And so we're going to show how this little creature, which you'd have to think, here's the evidence. We're going to see what the effect is of this little creature, and then we're going to see the effect that is the creature. So we're going to be able to get evidence from what we see, what we know, and then bring that out to see if that's the best cause for what we're going to watch is random chance, unguided, undirected mutations worked on by natural selection could give us this, or is the complex animal and his creation and what he does is more evidence that there's a mind behind the whole thing. And this is just one animal. And again, I can tell you, it's like, okay, yeah, this one might have happened by chance, but there's millions of them. There's billions of them in the fossil record. So, actually not billions, that's just the fossils. Sorry, I'll be corrected right. The amount of different species, the various species, and the amounts of complexity that have lived on this planet is either chance, worked on by natural selection, or it was actually designed, created by something with a mind, which would be a person, which we would call a god. So anyway, now I was supposed to be putting this link up, but it was like, this one here. We'll try this one first, make sure it is. If not, it won't matter, because I'm the designer of this mess. Look at that, it's right. So we'll start this video. I'm going to have to first, I'm talking you through it, and just because it's like kooky anyway. Okay, add this to screen. We're going to put that. So if you want to be expert Whoever I am. See that? I don't even know what I am. Okay, here we go. We will start this. I will give some commentary because I forgot I don't know how to make the sound go too. So we're watching this little beaver, and what we're seeing is this little creature, the largest, the largest mammal in the Americas, North America. There is larger ones in. There's larger ones in. Let me get rid of that. Sorry about that. There's larger. It's the second largest mammal. The beaver is, according to this person and other people. And so look at this, and it going through the different type of structures that they will do. And so on this, they will make their dam. They will make this, which is their house. And so in that, there's a couple different houses, and then there's the girl pointing out the dam, how the beavers can cut down trees, how their teeth are optimal for the um, chopping down of trees. And let's see, too many buttons. There we go. Shows that not anybody can be an engineer on a YouTube station, but on a channel. But oh well. Look at the size of that dam. That was huge. That was awesome. That made by a 50-pound creature at the most. And then there's the little baby beaver. Isn't that cool? That's the cutest little thing. And they can swim as soon as they're born. And when they're going through that, but in the beginning, the parent will still watch after them. Shows the size of the largest beaver dam in the world that they only found out in with the satellite photos from NASA. Now this guy here, he's showing how the dam, they start on the sides and they put in the mud sticks to make a little breach first on the sides. And you see behind her, the size of that dam is awesome. And then the other things, the flat tail, that would have had to have been a mutation from a random chance occurrence. That mutation. Look at that inside their little house they have, and it's underwater. See how deep that thing is. The entrance is underwater, and the living space then is above for creatures. Now this is showing they have also made canals because they're rodents. They have no protection outside of the water besides those teeth. Things are going to get them. They're going to be faster. And so with this, they also have for underwater, they have little goggle eyes. So they have a membrane that comes down over their eyes so they can keep their eyes open underwater in those horrible situations. It's muddy. There's stuff in there. This guy, they have a scent. This guy, all of them, they have a scent gland. And so this here, he's warning, this is my territory. The girl, she looked younger, but it sounded like an utut, if you know Philippine language. So he puts out some scent there, but that scent also in the same kind of gland. They have something that they can rub on their skin to make it more water resistant. Their fur, there was thousands of them per centimeter. Don't quote me on that. It was a little
I'm
bitty
back,
space.
Dan.
Yeah, somebody forgot that I don't know how to how to do sound with these things. So you got my sorry, Steven's back. I just told him how big of an idiot he knows I am already. So what
All
else do
right.
we have? Are you? Well, I'll just keep going on my. Oh, she was saying how the eyes are up at the top of the head, so that the predators can't get them as well. They don't walk very well on land, but they go up on land, and that's one reason they will use canals. They'll dig out canals so they're not walking so far on land. The like I say, the bears go after them, which are faster than they're faster and fast. You've got all the wild cat species that are after them, the bigger cats, and look at that. Oh, look at the little babies. And this showing even inside their den, it stays dry. It's up there. So as you look at that as a designer, what are we gonna do? And are you back, Stephen? Stephen. Okay, he's back and
Yes,
gone.
I am back. Yep.
Okay, we can talk about some of this. Because you've seen some of it. Oh, yeah, we can get that off of there. Well, it's our advertisement. I've been trying to be really good. Uh-oh, he's back and gone. So therefore, there was a little video. Sorry, I forgot how to do the sound on it. So we just had my stupid voice going. So all those things, you've got this beaver. It's the flat tail. It shows when now that tail, of course, swimming, boom. But also, God was such a bad designer because he didn't give the beaver another um, dimension in his in his life, because we're told that God was a bad designer because he will use our mouth all so we can breathe air. What a bad design! Even though I better take back the air conditioner that's also a heating device, because that must be bad design too. Our cars that the heater air conditioning unit, bad design, I guess, according to evolutionists. Our phones, man, the phone, what a bad device, because it's got multiple, and I'm being sarcastic, people, multiple functions on one device. So that must be bad design. No, that's actually called good design. Don't tell your godless evolution friends that. So you look at that. So the tail, swimming, it also uses it to pat down the mud on the dam. Oh my goodness. I have to use I have to go get it. Well, I can step it on with my feet, but have to get a compactor or a post with a piece of flat metal on the top to pound it as compact dirt or mud. Then, of course, we got we have it, and also if it sees danger, if it sees something, the beaver will flap his tail in the water, which splashes. And I saw one video that it actually scared away a poor moose. He just was trying to steal some of the beaver's food. It wasn't, he wasn't trying to eat him, but he was trying to steal some of the beaver food, and he actually did. The beaver was pulling a stick with leaves, and the moose went down, bit on it, and then the beaver went around and started, splashing his tail, and the poor big moose, who's what, 1,000 pounds? I mean, totally huge. He could have stepped on him, but he started tiptoeing out of that water because he knew he was being naughty. So we got that with the tail. So 3 divide just for the tail. It has the fur, which has just thick fur. They said 23,000. Don't quote me, but it was in the high thousands in amount of hairs per square. I believe they use centimeters. It's thick, people. Trust me. Don't go Google it. And if you trust Google, not everybody trusts Google, because we found that Google's wrong, but you can get an idea by Googling stuff. Don't use it for your final test that's gonna get fail or flunk or pass. So then we have that. So then another either design feature, foreknown, designed, or it was a random chance, many mutations worked on by natural selection for this creature. Then again, more things. That cool little beaver. We got the eye thing again. That was really cool. That little goggles. That was cute. Some video, put up some little water goggles, and made a cute video. So then what else does this little guy? He's got his eyes on the top. We went over that one. His ears are up there too, so he can listen. And that was all by chance, just because all the predecessors before the ears were up on top there got eaten by the predators over the millions of years it took to get the ear from a lower spot up to the top. And again, that would have to go through the whole species to be able to do that. I don't see that's possible, but you can take that evidence and say you think it was random chance, where Stephen and I and Christians all over the world would say it was a design feature. And then we go through on that. The funny one too is the beaver is instinctively, when they're little, is they'll start building dams. They'll start packing stuff. One, and I didn't check it out, but this sounds reasonable, sounds good, that it was a captive beaver. When they put it out into, released it back in the water, you know what it did, Stephen? It went out and started making a dam. How did it do that? That is quite that is quite weird. And Stephen, if you can find a way, how did we do it last time for you to have sound on it? Are you there?
Well, what do you mean for me to have sound on it?
Well, remember I couldn't get sound on it, and then you did it. There was some technical stuff we don't want to share because we don't want other people to know how stupid I am. It's because it went silent on me again, and I forgot you said I had to do something. And I think the last one you actually took and downloaded and made sound. It's okay. We'll get by with it since this is numbered. I'll show you, actually. Then what else on that? So it's instinctively, if it gets to a lake that's deep enough, it doesn't build the dam. Who taught it that? So the only reason they're saying, because of that evidence, that they only build dams when they need it for deep enough water to survive, they make the dam. Otherwise, they don't. Very interesting. And then some beavers, then I believe this is the other species, but they'll just make tunnels on land, not underwater. You can look at that one. That was kind of confusing. But if that was really it. But our North American beavers seem to make their little house and then have water all the way around it, door underneath, air inlet, so that there's circulation inside of there, because we know what would happen if they have the technology to totally seal their structure, their little house, to make it airtight. And we know all the beavers that didn't have that instinct to make sure that there was ventilation holes, and those ones all died out. Again, unless the first beavers had that technology. First beavers were already smart enough to know in their little lodge they need air circulation. Now, they really don't know it because they're a rodent, but a designer would have known that. And a designer, if I did that as a human, I might have some dead beavers first, and then I go, oh, I better put it in their little brain to make ventilation for their structure, their little castle. So, and we got that, and we got the their house itself, where it is door underwater. It's got a moat all the way around it to keep the predators from digging in. How do you dig into a beaver lodge from the bottom, which would be the only way they could do it, because the structure up top is so well woven, so well designed and engineered that even a bear, if it's done properly, can't get to it. And so we got that going. That is all evidence for design for anybody in the world to see. That's design, engineering. The evolutionists even say, yes, they're just such great little engineers. Oh, well, that's hyperbole, because of course they're not engineers, because they just evolved from palm gum through a tree of different nodes that we never see what the node was, what they came from, by chance, random, unguided mutations worked on by natural selection. So that's our two options, created, chance. And then I will be told, oh, well, it's the work done by natural selection. But unless the chance happened first, unless you win the lottery, and that's the example that people have used, is like, yeah, lottery's a chance. And then what you do with that, so you've made millions of dollars because you invested, you worked on your winnings from a lottery gain, and now you've taken 10 million to 100 million because you worked on that. That's how you got it advanced. That's how you evolved your money. But then you got to back, whoa, no, 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 no. You had to have the random chance lottery win before you could work on it. So without the chance, your lottery is not going to gain. It's not going to evolve more riches or less riches if you were like me and spend it wrong. And so you're hoping people, your foundation is mutations, random chance, unguided mutations is your foundation. And do we see them? And I've gone through the board. I've given you challenges. I've only seen, and it's according how many bacteria evolutions you want to mutations, I mean, or the same thing, right? Mutations. So how many of those you want to use is actually your evidence before we know. But the main big ones are given is sickle cell anemia for humans, and the other one would be West Nile virus. No, HIV. Sorry, because if you have HIV, you won't get West Nile virus as readily. So I put that challenge. Get some peer-reviewed papers. At least let me think that that you don't have more faith than I do. Come on, I want to have more faith than the evolutionist, the godless evolutionist. Come on, we're competitive as humans. I want to have better faith in you. But when you can believe that these few mutations, lactose tolerance, that's going to get you from pond scum up to mankind and the complexity of life around the world today. Come on, guys, you are trusting in mutations. I don't have that kind of faith. I'm sorry. You look at this beaver, you look at the beaver dam, you look at the beaver lodge, you look at the beaver canals, and is that could you design that? I know a lot of people that I know in this community wouldn't have a clue, how to do it, let alone have it done by a rodent with a brain, probably. Well, it might be. No, I'm not going to joke. No jokes here. So that I'm being nice. Um, anyway, Stephen, you got anything on that?
Well, nothing particular on that, but I did find something interesting. This is
Don't give me
just
math stuff.
facts
Don't give me
about.
math stuff that's going to get me in trouble. This is not Google, right? This was a peer-reviewed statement, right?
No, it's Google, but you know what? Claude is here tonight, so he can come in and tell us if it's wrong. Like we have our instant fact checker. So thank you, Lord, that you gave us Claude. So here's what we got tonight, Mr. President. So the brain size of the beaver, this is interesting facts. The brain size of the beaver, of the modern mountain beaver, is smaller relative to its body size than its ancestor. This may be due to change in lifestyle, such as living underground and being less reliant on vision. I actually think it's due to the ozone layer being harmed and the canopies being broke open and us having worse living conditions than we did before the flood. I think that helped cause the beaver's brain to be smaller. The teeth. Beaver teeth are orange. That's disgusting. Diet.
Not if you're chewing through a tree. If you're your own chainsaw. I'm my own chainsaw. That sounds like another song. So yeah, and so that is actually a metallic additive to the teeth. Another one of those mutations that early on they had just normal teeth like everybody else did,
Well,
and
check this out, Dan, and tell me if this doesn't sound like evidence for the flood. The giant beaver was the largest rodent to have ever lived in North America. As big as a black bear, It lived in lakes and ponds and ate aquatic plants. As big as a black bear. Now, they had to be bigger because of the living conditions before the flood.
I mean, either that or just random chance mutations because, a beaver that was bigger than, a as big as a bear, that thing would have been I mean, that would have been eaten by everything, right? It would have had a no chance in the world to survive, those wait a minute, that's kinda backwards, because I think backwards sometimes, but wouldn't that make that beaver survive more if it was bigger? I mean, right now, it hides from a bear because it'll go into the water, but how about if it was the same size as a bear? Do you think it would have a bigger chance or a less chance of survival? Just thinking, um, in my backwards mind. So now evolution was good because, again, it has its little niche. So some reason the smaller beaver was able to survive according to godless evolution better by being smaller. Um, and we don't have a time where we don't have and I did make a mistake. I don't know why Claude did not correct me then. I said and I thought you had said it was 30,000 years since the big guy went extinct, but I
Mm-hmm.
re-listened and you had read, and this is Google, the facts we give you today is by worldly experts. So please, if you do hear something and check it out yourself, and if it's wrong, we're just quoting the experts. And so it's kind of funny because the same person that got
Well,
on us
and let me
said
ask
that
you. Let me ask you this question, Dan. You're the designing expert. Okay, so the beaver's teeth don't stop growing until the beaver dies. It grows throughout the entirety of their life, and if they don't chew on wood,
right.
their teeth will actually grow through their brain and kill them. They have to chew on this wood to gnaw their teeth to survive. Now, my
Oh,
question for you is how long did it take beavers to evolve the knowledge? I better start chopping wood as soon as I'm born or I'm going to die sooner than I have to. How long do
mm.
you think it took? A million years? 2 million
Well, how
years?
many beavers died that got that mutation? Because it has to go through the whole of the species, that mutation, to then have it reproduced in the next generations. It's not just one animal that will get that mutation. So yeah, how many beavers died before they could pass on that next mutation that was to chew wood with it? I mean, because how many of them too? Then, you think they got these teeth growing so fast. It's like how many of them started just chewing on rocks and then totally broke the tooth off and died? And then somebody else who must have had that same mutation would have looked and go, "Oh, Uncle George is pretty. Oh, he's not very bright. I better chew on something hard but softer." And then that one started chewing on its mother and killed the mother, and so that wasn't a good thing. So a third guy, said, "I'll start chewing on trees, and that'll do it." Yeah, how many of them had to die? And see, this is where we have the same evidence, Stephen, and we joke about it, and they'll joke about us, and so it's fair play. Magic Man in the sky, which actually would be part of material, and so we know it couldn't be. Wait, wait for it. Oh,
What's
I could. Oh, I almost removed you because I didn't put you on fast enough. I do that so much and then have to apologize.
I thought you were
Somebody
doing some
else,
force of habit.
no. That's why I have to, because I was just about ready to push it, and then I see you up there, and it's like somebody else beat me to it, putting you on screen.
I have a
So
show in a little while at 7:30 Eastern, but I figured I'd hop on here and say hello. If I'm in the way, let me know and I'll go back to the chat.
if you're in the way, I'll just boot you. I'm Booter Dan.
Sorry,
Um,
sorry.
Yes, I just can't remember how to do it. So, because I can get you off stage, but then that's as far as I can go. So, I actually tried to ban somebody that comes in and always in comments is not dealing with the issues, but is just attacking personalities. And I actually tried to ban them. So I don't know if somebody else unbanned them, but they have come back into the comments after that. But anyway, please try to be nice, and you're going to be better off, and you're not going to actually look like an idiot if you do ad hominems all the time. Sometimes they're funny. If you do fallacious arguments all the time, it makes you just look stupid instead of funny, because everybody will do it once in a while because we're human. And Mr. Logos, that was great. Oh, hopefully we can get to that. Mr. Logos had some great questions. I believe that was yesterday, and we weren't able to get to all of them because I think it was Pastor Jay's show, and he had to shut it down. But Claude, why? How am I supposed to read it when it's so fast? Forget it. You guys read that. We'll deal with what we were dealing with. We were dealing with the awesome creation, the beaver, and so I was telling them. And if you heard that part, if not, I'll go over it
I
again.
just got here like right now.
Okay, I will discipline you later for that. So we all have the same evidence, and I don't like it when people go, "Oh, evolutionists have no evidence." Oh, and then creationists have no evidence, and it's like we all have evidence. It's the interpretation of that evidence. We all have the same evidence, really, and it's how you interpret it. And I was going through how it's either by a creator, like this little beaver we saw, and if you see him, and you didn't see it, I encourage actually watching some of these beaver videos, actually with sound. I couldn't figure out how to put the sound on it, so I had to babble through it. Anyway, the awesomeness of this, and so evolution. And correct me if I'm wrong. Everybody says you don't know what evolution is, and it's like it seems like evolution was chemicals. Once chemicals got together and formed life, so we have this first living cell out there. We don't know what it is because it was too simple. Anything today, no way it could happen by random chemicals getting together, because there's too many pieces to have it all connect and make a life. We have the definition, sort of kind of life. Then so through that you'd have mutations, and those mutations would be in the genetics that are in the parts of the genetics and the DNA that actually is passed on to the next generations. And as that goes, and it builds the DNA more, because it would have had to have started smaller. It couldn't. This is where impossibility that, what do they say, 1 billion characters in a DNA. So we're all in agreement. When it first started, it would have had to be simple if there's no God evolution. And so as we get going, we have all these mutations build up over deep time that has given us the complexity we see today. So then I'm looking at the beaver and not saying, oh, you couldn't have evolved the beaver from pond scum. No, nobody's saying, I'm not saying that. Maybe somebody is. But over deep time, all these little creatures got a little more complex, till you get to the modern day animal like this awesome beaver who comes out. One thing I didn't say, and this one was a cool one on the beaver, is they tested him scientifically of about because they found out that if he hears running water, they'll rush to it and patch up that dam so that it won't totally be wiped out. We know whether it's a man-made dam or anything, if you get water breaching over the top of it, I don't care what it's made out of, it's going to go away eventually. If it's a big enough dam with enough water pressure coming behind it, it will destroy the dam. And that's why you have spillways. That's why in Northern California just a few years ago, they were worried about some of the bigger dams because the water was getting in. The rain was so fast, coming in so hard that it would go over top, and they were expecting devastation from collapsed dams. So you've got that in the little guy. So
Are
they
you
good.
pointing out like the fact that the beavers had the ability to repair those broken dams? Is that what you're highlighting?
Right at this point, yes.
Okay.
And so, but they tested it in from a captive beaver, and so they just had a recording. Thank you. That you got it to work. You'll have to show me that. They had a recording of water, and they said, and again, this I just took off a video. It's not gospel, but it sounds like it's pretty true because that's what they do in nature, is that they started trying to cover up the recording with mud and sticks, because that's what they do in nature. And unless it is a thought process that is just totally um, foreign to us, it has to, if it goes to running water in real, it's going to go running water anytime, unless there was some other mechanism that was drawing them to that running water. But that, yeah, they'll patch those dams. They will bring rocks, sticks. They'll first put, and they have an order. They have sticks. They'll set there and on it, and then they'll put mud and they'll put rocks on it to fix that dam. If anybody has worked with ponds, in the landscape or irrigation or in the rivers, I actually did a restoration project. It was really cool. A bank had fallen off and lost hundreds, thousands of cubic yards. They were worried that it was going to plug up the breeding beds for the salmon in California, a local creek here, for the salmon, the steelhead, the other fish, freshwater shrimp. And there was, the first thing we did was they stuck the willows into it and fortified it, wove them together, and it was pretty disgusting looking when you look at what a beaver could do. So it's just an awesome thing what the beavers do. They went on to say how they are the only creature. I can't quote only creature. Only something that will design structures that will affect the environment so around them. The
Do you think of that as being a form of conscious intelligence or just an instinctual thing that they don't understand?
um, I think I don't know. I can't go inside of one. All I see is that it is, whether it's instinct or they're thinking about it, it is awesome because either way, you under evolutionary, and anybody here that knows evolution, Claude doesn't, but I know I have Mr. Logos there. He's pretty smart on the evolution. And
Hello.
hey, let me put Claude on. Hello, Claude. And let me finish. Did okay. Add to scene. Ready? Go. Look at that. Stephen must have done it at the same
Hello,
time.
Claude.
You brat.
Hello.
So before any comment, Claude, just to finish, is whether it's instinct or they actually consciously think it, it's still what kind of mutation would be able to do that? How many mutations would it take to
Lots.
get yeah? And so, and that's just one aspect. And thank you, Claude. He says a lot of mutations. So again, I would agree. It would take tons of mutations. I see that there's mutations in nature. I think that's part of the genetics already, part of the design, part of the design of the genetics to be able to do that. Because again, the beaver's probably already up to what billion characters in its DNA, and even if it's only a million,
As if you
um,
understand any of
whatever
it.
the number is, it is like crazy high. And to think that each one of those would have to be a mutation, everything from its flat tail, everything. And then you go deep time though, but that's not the only mutations. They're also, correct me somebody if I'm wrong, they're also giving many just generation to generation, we're getting neutral mutations, just messed up, that doesn't
Call
do
it
anything.
changes. Just call it
What's that?
changes. Just call it changes.
Well, no, we'll call it what it is. It's mutations.
Well,
So,
mutation and change. What's the difference? Explain the difference.
well, if I put coloring in my hair, it'll be a change. But if it's actually a mutation within the the DNA change, that's something in chemical reactions
It's
in
a
the
change.
nucleus.
It's a change.
Yeah, scientifically though they'd call it mutation.
And
What is
how
a
do you think the
mutation?
dye works on your hair? Does it have some chemical reaction? Yes.
No, but it's not. It's something
Even
I
if
have
you snap
to
it
do.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Claude, for that. It's that. Yeah. It's a random chance. So if I put dye on my hair, I'm doing it. I have forethought of doing that. So every mutation, every change, there's no forethought according to a godless evolution system. So by chance, random, unguided mutations that will change the DNA structure, then it can be worked on by natural selection. So right now, over deep time, and let's say we have something with a small tail, and then you'd have to say how many changes, how many mutations would have had to. Do they think it's one mutation? This I didn't even look up since Claude, you came in, and this just off the top of my head.
You
Um,
don't need to look it up. You know about this. I mean, you're telling everybody, you're teaching. Don't need to look something up. You're an expert in the field of design. I've heard that many times, Dan.
well, let's see. How do we do this? So
I have
there's an example of somebody
a
who is
question.
not trying to actually learn anything, not trying to even debate. That's called an ad hominem, and I don't that is malicious. You're not on anymore, Claude. You're already gone, Claude. So with that, if Claude another day wants to actually um, want to actually express, then
Should
he'll
we
be
give him
fine with that.
should we give him one more chance to be a grown up tonight?
This is a channel of Christianity, so we believe in grace. We
Okay.
believe God forgives us. So let me bring him back on. Boom.
I have a question.
On. Oh yeah,
Did you
go
get a
ahead.
haircut?
I
You did, didn't you?
did. It's my
Yeah.
6-month haircut. Yeah, one day, because as you can see, and probably in 10 years, I'll do some. I'll have Claude come and he can, you know, uh, do some
I know
hairstyle.
this because, as you can tell, I haven't had a haircut. So
I noticed that. I was going to call you a hippie the other
I'm
day.
due. I'm definitely due.
No, and it's to me, I don't like to sit still that long. So about twice a year, when I get too annoyed by the hair, I actually prior than that, probably last month or the month before, I just took it and I clipped it. I did one of whatever those things where I cut it short because I was just annoyed with it. And then Gemma finally goes, "Do you want your haircut?" It's like, "Yeah, just buzz it off." So I won't have to worry about it for like 6 months. Anyways,
Please carry on with the beaver subject, sir.
it does. But actually, if their hair was as thin as mine, they would die. There, see, that goes back. I'm going back to the beavers.
It was a
It
good
was
time.
like it was like thousand. I think it was 23,000 because it just stuck in my brain. But you guys check it out. How dense is beaver hair? And it's crazy. Oh, the other one, and I didn't because I don't have the sound. My tech guy hasn't taught me that yet. Anyway, um, to get the sound on the video on YouTube, um, too many steps for my brain. So as you get going, they said then these little creatures adapted, and the way they put it always. And no, this is not scientific, but how just like Disney, making the animals talk. Oh, they're giving personhood to animals so that whatever. I was raised on Bambi. Oh, I cried as a kid. And now it's harder for me to kill things that sometimes need to be killed. But anyway, I digress on that one. But you look at that, and so they were talking on how, oh yes, these guys, these little mites and stuff that go onto the beavers, or they adapted. They adapted to the beaver so that they can live in this dense fur. And I'm going like, guys, how many mutations then did that take? And they're random mutations. So you got these little bugs. They're dying because they can't get into the beaver's fur, and one of them mutated so well that it could either size or whatever could get in there. And then the beavers, though, they either had it or they mutated again to have some back claws that they can actually comb this fur with and groom themselves with. And it's like, guys, I just don't have that much faith to think that many mutations would happen on the same animal to be able to get it there, because they'll go, oh, well, it fit a niche. Well, okay, that's another thing that's on by faith. It's not on by the mutations, because there's not scientific evidence behind the mutations, only that we have mutations. And then I've asked all the time too, is that, well, how many, because I believe in mutations, we see them. Well, how come I don't believe then that if we have so many mutations, we could go back to we could trace back over many generations, many different creatures to get to the single cell, simple, sorry, I somebody showed me a little spotlight. I'm a moth. Robin the milk lady. That's funny. So anyway,
Can I jump in?
yes, go ahead.
I'm just trying to follow along because I came in literally right when I came on stage. So I haven't heard anything. I think I'm following you. I think what you're saying is that the ability to repair broken dams and to know to do that is a sign of something that could not have emerged. It had to be pre-programmed. Is that what you're saying?
That seems yes, that's the evidence. So the evidence that I see, it's either random chance, unguided, or it was designed that way. And I, as a designer, and then just seeing the evidence, because I ask people all the time, I've looked into it. It's like they're just, and I know your boy Richard Dawkins and Claude. I didn't ban you. I put you back on stage, and gave you another chance. So anyway, come on back in if you want to just actually, and I don't care if you argue, but just so it's, come with some stuff. You said you don't have any clue about biology or the sciences.
Well,
So
the reason
yeah, no, go ahead.
the reason I mention that is because there's a difference in, for instance, discussing whether or not mutations happen to the degree of anatomical change versus discussing certain traits of an animal that could not possibly have emerged via mutations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I say, like, are you guys like making the case that there are certain things, such as a beaver's instinct to repair a dam, that could not have sensibly emerged on their own, regardless of mutations?
Yeah. Without.
No, it's like we're no detectives, but we just don't believe in coincidences. And it takes an awful lot of coincidences to believe that the beaver evolved just precisely in the right time. It had to instinctively start utilizing and discovering in the first place the drive to chew and gnaw on its teeth, because if it doesn't do that, starting from a very young age, its teeth end up growing through its brain. I mean, how many beavers died and for how long before they evolved that mechanism? And what were the variants in the environment that would cause the beaver to evolve that?
Okay. I mean, I think that's still kind of the same thing as the second thing. Like, the idea of the teeth situation is something that you feel like could not have emerged.
Well, not in. So on that is that the creature we're seeing today, and my perspective as a designer, and like when you're building a house, it's like, okay, how do I get this here? And they're telling me, well, you throw on mutation over a long time. Now, if there was somebody that made a theory that all of them happened at the same time, all these mutations popped in, because some of them you had to have them together. So you're not going to build a dam unless you can cut the tree down. That's a mutation that you have to have that thought process in your head. Like, I told you earlier, they were talking that in a deep lake, they don't even make a dam. So they only make the dam if the water is where they're at is too shallow for protection.
Yeah.
So there's another thread on top of there So they don't come out just making dams anywhere. It's only for protection. Okay. And so another layer now, but you come to that place. So they were all in the deep water, and that's cool. Didn't need dams. And then somebody, so you had this mutation that then, or some kind of learning, which is also complex, that then I got to a shallow. I mean, I'm getting kicked out of the lake by mom and dad. I'm going up to water and I'm going to get eaten. I better build a structure that is going to give me the same lake I had down there. But then again, you're going to to complexity, that then if you believe that that little rodent has the ability in his brain, without any change, without any mutations, to be able to think that it's like, uh-oh, mom did it that way, but there's no deep lakes anymore. I'm going to have to build my own structure.
Well, yeah, we know, one way or the other, information is not passed down in that sense. Human beings are the only creatures that we know of that pass down information orally and memory and things. Everything else is genetic. I think it goes back to the point Stephen was making a minute ago, though, which is there are certain things that some people just naturally find not sensible to have emerged. And I do think that people who are in the mainstream fields in biology, who are loud voices, who a lot of times just laugh this stuff off or ignore it, are doing themselves a great disservice. Because if a large swath of the population has these convictions and really does have trouble believing that that's possible, if they feel so confident, they should have no problem calmly taking questions and trying to answer them. So I sympathize with you guys in that regard. I do think that they dismiss it so much that it makes them look like they don't have answers at times.
And exactly. And then coming in and saying, oh, well, Dan, you're an expert designer. I'm an expert designer of landscapes. And my mind works in design. So I can take that over to something else. Even like if I wanted to design some kind of automobile, what would I need to be able to do a boat that also, a aquatic car, or a flying car. I mean, it's done before, but even something that, even more futuristic, I could say, oh, well, you need this, you need that. I wouldn't know how to build it. I don't have that, but I can see the design, what it would take. I can see that even going back as far as like a canoe, and they did the log, and then they put the sap on it to make sure that it didn't sink, to make it watertight. And then, how design is not hard. I mean, you had Michelangelo. Wasn't it Michelangelo that designed the helicopter 500 years ago? But of course, they didn't have any material. But the
Yeah, they
design,
didn't have a power source for it. That's right.
power source, or something light enough that even if you had a light motor, you still had to have light material. Can't make it out of logs. And
Well, the reason I was originally asking about the situation with the dam was because I do think, in my opinion, it's a much better case for special creationists to make with things like that, because there is no mechanism that science understands, and certainly that they believe in, that says that that beaver has the conscious mind to know that that dam is like that and to go and make the decision to repair it. It seems to be an instinctual reaction. And there are things like that which certain people at least feel convinced are irreducibly complex. And I don't think it's the same thing as an eye, because an eye is just an anatomical feature and an organ. But something like this mental process that happens at the breaching of the dam, to me, seems even more complex than something like an eye, because mutations acting upon anatomical parts of the body seems much simpler, in my opinion, than things that act upon the reasoning and the instincts. You know what I mean? So if you're going to make a case for special creation, I think the best case to be made is from examples like that.
and that's why I just see when any of those, nature stuff. And then we go to Romans 1, nature itself shows God's eternal power and Godhead.
Oh, I'm going
Um,
to read that verse tonight in the teaching.
oh, good.
Mhm.
Good. I'm going to have to cut that short to see
No, I'm
that.
not saying that, but it just made me think about it.
No, and that's the cool thing, is that how Scripture, just again, they say it was written by Bronze Aged goat herders, or sheep herders, whatever, and to see the complexity, the knit, and even though I disagree with some of the stuff you say and teach, and you disagree, of course, with because we're human. Nobody's 100% perfect, but the way you can weave things all through it, you weave something in Genesis, which is not the same book as John, different books. It's not circular reasoning because circular reasoning is using the same book.
Yeah. Well, part of the Christian faith is believing that the same author wrote all of those books. You know,
Right,
the
but a
Bible says
divine one.
holy
But
men were moved by the Holy Ghost to write those things. So I believe, and I think it's a tenet of the Christian religion, to believe that the Holy Ghost is the author of all of those books.
yeah, it's the word of God. But I mean, I'm coming from the worldly thing, saying that the Bible, it's circular reasoning to use the Bible to prove the Bible. And it's like, no. You're using Genesis, which is another book, and I'm talking in human sense. You're using Genesis, that's another book, and then you'll skip to like up into Isaiah, or it doesn't matter. I can pick any book.
That's
Then
funny
you'll
because
go,
I actually have Isaiah in the teaching for tonight. I have John in the teaching for tonight.
see, that's the Holy Spirit working.
It's almost
Um,
like you've seen the notes.
ha 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 ha! Don't mind that dot up on your ceiling there. That's really just a dot. Um, yeah, no, and it's, but you can see what I'm saying is that you weave the scriptures together because you can do that. If they were like 45 or whatever it is, different authors over 1,500 years, come on, guys, come on.
Well,
You
even
have,
like saying Bronze Age sheep herders, like I know sheep herders today who are really smart, successful people because herding sheep is a legitimate way to make a living. You know, like I don't think it's an insult to call somebody a sheep herder. Like I painted houses for years, and compared to the professional world, painters are the offscouring of the earth, you know, but I was a very decent, hardworking person that did a professional trade that made an honest living for my family. So when we say sheep herders, it's like, is that really an insult? You know?
that's the thing, is they are using it as an insult. My cousin, I'll put him up against, unless we got a lot of rich people in our atheist community. I, my cousin owns, was it up to 1,000 acres now in Marin County, California. And what is he? He's a sheep herder.
Yeah.
His main income comes off of sheep, and he has, I know his one ranch is 360 some acres in Marin County, which before Washington D.C. and all the lobbyists used to be the per capita richest county in the top 15 every year. And he's a sheep herder, and that's why I laugh too. It's like, are you guys, how
Well, if you look
condescending?
at like, I mean, this is like a very taboo, I'm not taboo, but a very cliche example. You look at something like the pyramids of Giza or the pyramids in South America and Central America, and some of the monolithic structures like Göbekli Tepe or that one place down in Africa. Like the idea that these people just as a population had a lower IQ is not really founded in reality. You know, so like it's like it would not be unreasonable to say that the average sheep herder of the Bronze Age had as high or higher of an IQ as the average sheep herder today. That would not be an unreasonable thing to say. So I don't think statements like, oh, well, they were in the Bronze Age. Well, even from a secular evolutionary standpoint, that's not nearly enough time to affect the average IQ. So that's not really an insult. You know what I mean?
I know, and that's the funny thing we can see from, and as you know, I get humor from so many different ways. And look, we have Mister, I'm Brother Pike. Hi, Brother to Pike, and now he's gonna be,
He's got a picture of me from when the baby was being born. Every time I have a kid, I always do this dumb picture with the rubber glove. And so that's the one that I took the other day.
that's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Butter Pike.
Oh, brutal.
I better kick the other one,
I would.
because now you because that says Brother Pike, and I know that's not that. See, you got AI going there, because that can't be you, because you're Brother Pike.
That's the way that Logan says my name.
Yeah.
You know,
Hi, Steven.
and Stephen, he was gonna, he was having fun with his son today,
Oh, Dan.
building stuff. How are you? You ready
Yeah.
for the next show?
Yeah. You want me to give you a link to the show?
Oh, that'd be cool. And but just
20
remember
minutes
when you're
longer than
when you're
about 15 or 20 minutes, something like that.
yeah. So the real brother Pike, make sure you got your button, your hand on the mute button, because that brother Pike, I don't know. You better watch him.
Yeah, you got to keep a good eye on him.
No, and so where did who
What
man?
happened?
Well, Claude thought we banned him, but I didn't. Maybe I would have if I could have, but no. And we just got on the thing. Even design, go for it. Challenge me. I am an expert on design, and I'm getting, but my evidence, I'm showing the same evidence you have. So to come in and say, "Oh, Dan knows everything because he's a," no, no, no. I'm giving you evidence from what I see, and I'm telling you what I perceive that evidence to be. We're seeing the effects of what the little beaver, the little rodent can do, and so that's the um the effect. And I'm thinking, so we're all seeing the same effect, but what's the cause to it? We know everything has a cause. And so when you just tell me it's random chance mutations, not guided or directed, not planned, and it's then worked on by natural selection, you got to give me more than that. Come on, guys.
Well,
Come
actually,
on.
that's something I was going to say earlier when I first joined. I didn't want to interrupt or anything, but there is, if you're talking to just sort of like the laity, so to speak, then it's not so important to be distinct. But when you're speaking to people who work in the field or even who are educated in the field, then you do have to kind of be more specific about what you're referring to. Like when common people say evolution, they mean a certain thing by that. But when academics say evolution, they mean something much more specific. So it all kind of depends. Like if you looked at Richard Dawkins and said, I don't believe in evolution, then he would think what you meant was you don't believe that brown dogs and white dogs are related. So you do, depending on who you're speaking with, you do have to be equipped to be more specific because the word evolution from an academic standpoint just simply refers to inherited changes from generation to generation. That's all that word technically means.
I know, and that's why I don't use it anymore, because we had somebody come on and say it's just change. It's like, no, I've been told that I'm an ignoramus because I use that, and we got to use because I'm
Well, what
talking.
it is, the scientific term, the theory of evolution, encapsulates universal common ancestry. But the term evolution is just simply the mechanism by which things change in nature, which is inherited traits. So there is a difference. You know what I'm saying?
No, exactly, and that's why, and I'm trying to be very careful because of words do mean things, but the same word can mean different things. And so when you're talking, we did that in church today. I did a little study on the sermon, which had to be which great sermon it was on 1 John, where it talks how if you're a believer, if you believe in Jesus Christ, and it goes on. It went on to talking about your conquerors, and where Paul used that, John used that a lot. The word you're a conqueror. You
Yeah.
have conquered. Jesus conquered death. Same word going through, and so. But to be able to, got into that a little bit because into defining terms. While I'll ask people like, "What must I do to be saved?" You tell me, because that's if it's not salvation, if it's not being right with God, then my words don't matter if it's not through loving and wanting to get right with God. So I'll be specific. What must I do to be saved? What is your definition of salvation? What is your definition of this? The same thing holds with the evolution thing, and I know a lot of it,
Well, I
is
know it can be frustrating because you just are trying to get information out there and you hate to put the brakes on yourself, but at times it's necessary. When you have a diverse community like this, it can be frustrating, but it can also be necessary to put the brakes on yourself a little bit and take it one step at a time to make sure people are following along with what you mean. Because, the purpose of language is to communicate one thought to somebody else. And so if you're not doing that, then the language itself is not serving its purpose.
Yeah, and one example of that scientifically is I'm very careful to try to say the Great Expansion instead of the Big Bang,
Oh, to
because
refer to like redshift and things like that.
correct, and that, Big Bang. See, and then that will put me back into the 70s, and Big
Well,
Bang.
actually, this is another good example of the terminology thing because, like I said earlier, the phrase "the theory of evolution" implies universal common ancestry. That phrase encapsulating the whole theory. The phrase "the Big Bang Theory" implies exactly what it says, that all the universe was crunched into a single point ever so many years ago. But when you use terms within that field of study, such as expansion, inflation, dark energy, redshift, things like that, those terms simply refer to phenomenon. Whereas the phrase "the Big Bang Theory" encapsulates the whole thing. So when a person says, like, I don't believe in evolution, most of the time what they're trying to say from an academic standpoint is, I don't believe in the theory of evolution. I don't
Right.
believe in universal common ancestry. That's what they mean by that.
No, that's true. But that's why if you say Big Bang, even just as the total package of how the condensed whatever came out, the energy expanded out, and they'll say, no, it wasn't an explosion. It's not a Big Bang. And yeah. So instead of then having me to go through, no, it's a great expansion, but you guys call it the Big Bang, because so many creationists I don't think have the have it clicked in that no, the scientific, and if we're going on, like with me, I want to go more of the scientific stuff, then it's more proper to say, as an evolution, I mean, as a creationist, it's better for me to say the great expansion, and then they won't have to, oh no, it's not a Big Bang. It's like, no,
It's almost simple, like as far as terminology to communicate with atheists and people like that. If I were you, I would say expansion or dark energy or redshift or some word that just means, yeah, stuff's moving apart apparently.
yeah, and yeah, so that's why I just use expansion. But that again is the words. It's been so many times where I had to correct myself or correct, not correct, but to communicate better. Because as soon as a creationist says Big Bang, they're going to go to the creationist or back in the early days of the Big Bang for just mostly schools and not in the higher education. It was what we say it is, but it's not. It's not what it is being portrayed today in the more scientific
Let me
term.
ask, let me ask you something about that. The discovery of redshift, which later led to the theory of dark energy, which is energy left over from the Big Bang. What they actually discovered, of course, is that things apparently are moving apart, and the further apart that they are, the faster they're moving apart. Which means that there's some force that we were unaware of that causes things to move apart faster and faster the further they are. So it's an exponential speed growth. So when I first came to the Lord, I was already semi familiar with popular scientific terms like that. And the first thing I thought of, or it wasn't the first thing, but it was fairly early on in my conversion, was the scripture from Psalms that says that God stretches out the heavens. Because to me, it seemed like a very obvious correlation there. Do you also feel that that's what that scripture meant?
I do, yeah. Because it also says that whether it's secular and they might use billions of years, and it might be, I don't know what time frame, but that it's expanding so far, and then gravity eventually is going to boomerang it back in, and that's the
That's what they call
science.
the big crunch theory. Well, that's a real theory. There's actually some scientists who believe that. It's a minor group, but the big crunch is the idea because basically the what do they call it? There's a term for it. It means like the heat death of the universe. What that suggests is that over enough time, gravity will eventually lose the battle against dark energy, and dark energy will win and separate every particle in the universe to where there's just not one atom left close to another.
So that,
And
yeah.
that's the mainstream opinion about the results of the Big Bang. But there are some other minor theories, and one of them is the Big Crunch. And what that theory suggests is that there will come sort of an equilibrium where gravity catches up with dark energy, and then it just starts working in reverse until you just have like a cycling Big Bang like this over and over again. And there are actually some people who subscribe to that theory who believe that time will run perfectly in reverse during crunching periods. So it just replays the same cycle of time over and over again. So stuff like that can kind of blow your mind when you read about it.
No, and that's where mathematics is great. And even Einstein, who put in the fudge factor,
Yeah.
to get away. And actually, I just heard a video, and again a video, so it's always fun to ponder on other stuff. Is that, and I don't remember where I saw it, but it was interesting, saying that actually there's another mathematical thing that that the expansion really is going to do what Einstein thought, and that it really, his fudge was taking the fudge factor out. Is that there's something out there that will use that fudge factor that he put in. It's like, okay, whatever. I'm not even going to deal with that one. I don't care.
Well,
But it was just again
that's good.
somebody else.
I got to go, Dan. I got like 7 minutes till we go live. But thank you guys for having me on. May the
Yes.
Lord bless you. And if you get freed up, please feel free to join us for our teaching tonight.
And your teaching tonight is going to be
Part 2 of relationships within the Godhead.
very cool on Gigi's show. What time is it?
Yes.
We've been going an hour and a half. We can close this
I'm
down.
not telling you guys to close down. I just wanted to make you aware of it in case you wanted to join us.
I'm telling you,
Well,
I'm going to
Dan,
close it down.
we have 8 viewers, and it is the beginning of the year. We're trying to fund the ministry. So I found a couple videos of beavers fighting, and we were going to do some charity driving. We're going to have all the audience take a bet on which beaver they think's going to win the fight, and then they can PayPal that to us or Cash App it to us, the bettings, and then, we'll divvy out. I'm bad at math because I was homeschooled, obviously, but we'll have Dan or someone else who's smarter than me and Dan divvy out the winnings, and then we'll keep the proceedings for, proceeding stuff.
No, that's okay though. I didn't tell you, but I've got blackmail now on Christian, and he's going to fund us.
Look, I got $10 on the left, Beaver, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, we're heckling. He won't. He said he won't give us more than 10 million. I'm going for 15.
You guys take checks?
Mike, well,
If you guys were really
God bless
winning,
your show.
you'd have a Proverbs 31 wife like mine, man. She's got warm kids in a field with silk that she traded with someone.
I need to move up then.
Yep.
All right, get out of here. I don't want you to be late on your show like we always are.
All right. God bless you guys.
God bless your show.
Bye, buddy.
Hey, you can't go, Gigi. Joking.
So what was this video, Dan?
Which one?
The desert beaver?
Oh, I didn't try that one yet. But,
We have a desert beaver, and we got the one with 3 beavers. Like, which one? Let's check it out. Let's really press into this beaver situation.
Yes, now that we have sound to it, and I don't have to babble through it.
Joseph, we were joking, okay? And none of the beavers were hurt in the filming of this possibly illegal gambling
Gosh.
arena.
I was feeling violent today because there was some guy that showed a dead beaver, and it's like, what? You killed one of those cute little guys? Okay, I'm not paying his bills for all the money he lost from the beaver. Anyway, go for it, Stephen. The 3 cute ones, which are you picked this time?
Well, you are the one sharing it, so you'll have to pick it. But I'm just going to put your screen back up there for us. So do the desert beaver. Let's see what's up with the desert
There's
beaver.
not going to be sound with it. You said I had to do something to get sound.
No, you should have sound. Just click on it, and then you're going to click on it.
I'm going there now. Which one are we doing?
Desert beaver.
Ewok. Oh, the first one.
Yep.
Okay. 10 minutes. It might be 10 minutes of silence. Here we go. Oh, no, wait a minute.
I'll tell you if it's silent.
Okay, good. Oh, that's right. I've got somebody here. Oh, maybe it's muted.
Oh, no, I hear it.
But is that behind scenes, or is that...
No, we hear it.
In the deserts of North America, something incredible is happening. These arid plains are turning into lush green wetlands. And it's all because of a very secretive creature who only comes out at night. And the results are surprising everyone. Determined, relentless, and even stubborn are words commonly used to describe one of nature's hardest workers. They work tirelessly through the night, night after night, I'm talking about beavers, of course. And despite their controversial and complex relationship with man in the past, the science world is coming to a realization that beavers could actually be a friend rather than a foe, since they can help us with the fight to save the environment. In this video, we will show you how beavers have saved desert rivers over the course of 12 years, and we will take a look at the landscapes beavers create to help combat fires, reduce drought, and reverse declining fish numbers. So let's dive into it. In today's show, we're going to take a look at 2 case studies of beavers' effects on rivers in 2 completely desert regions of North America. One is in a northern, cold and dry desert zone in Oregon, and the other is in a hotter and even drier southern desert in Nevada. But first, to understand how beavers can transform the landscape, we need to explain a little bit about beavers. They are a large, semi-aquatic rodent that live in the northern hemisphere. There are 2 existing species, the Northern American beaver and the Eurasian beaver. They are well adapted to both life on land and water, as they have hand-like front feet, which is useful on land. They have webbed back feet, allowing them to swim and maneuver in water with great agility, and they have distinctive flattened scaly tails that measure 6 to 12 inches. It acts as a rudder when they are swimming, stores fat, and serves as a warning signal by slapping it against the water to alert.
Okay, so I talked earlier about the flat tail, but also they added a 4th thing, is not just splashing water, not swimming, but the fat, which actually I heard that and I forgot that one. It regulates their temperature. What an awesome design.
Alert other beavers of predators. They are herbivorous, consuming tree bark, aquatic plants, and grasses.
And
According
be
to the
sure
National Park
tune in
Service,
next week
early European explorers who
for our
arrived in North
episode
America
on
in the
ducks.
1600s recorded encountering countless numbers of beavers in lakes, rivers, and ponds. There are descriptions of valleys and fields across the states being filled with ponds and wetlands. The population seemed endless and was estimated at 100 million. There were millions upon millions of beaver dams and ponds, each with its own rich wetland, meadow, and thickets. Wetlands created by beavers may have covered more than 300,000 square miles in pre-Columbian America. This means that 1/10 of the total land area was rich wetland, making a
1/10 estimated. Now, I don't go with a lot of the modern day science, but just looking at this, is our problem with climate change that man took out these creatures, which would take out all those wetlands. And we do know by science that taking out rainforests or taking out trees, taking out water sources like this is going to change. You're going to heat up a planet that way, or at least an area, which potentially, if you do enough of those, is going to do it. But check that out. That's awesome.
checkerboard
Andrew
pattern of
came in
ecological
here
diversity.
to say that he disagrees with you. It's not awesome. He said that his great uncle died in a beaver attack. So this to him is horrifying. Right, Andrew? I got you, bud.
What?
Yeah, and so we're sorry for your loss, Andrew, but come on now. I know I saw his beaver hat he has hanging on the wall back to the left.
Oh, stop it.
Welcome, Andrew. Aren't you glad? You missed our sense of humor, didn't you?
No.
Yeah.
So enjoyable. Not.
Isn't that awesome though? The beavers, man. Did you get to see any of them yet?
I haven't seen him. No.
Okay, well, I'll continue this so that you can be enlightened on the creative powers of a beaver by chance and random and unguided mutations worked on by natural selection.
Across the face of the continent. The European settlers started to hunt beavers relentlessly and almost killed all of them off in a short period of time. Their abundant numbers meant beavers were hunted for their fur, meat, and scent glands called castoreum. Castoreum has been used in medicine, perfume, and food flavoring. Beaver fur was a major driver of the fur trade, and trappers across the states almost pushed beavers to extinction. Today there's an estimated 10 to 15 million beavers left in North America. In the meantime, since people have been farming on beaverland, beavers have been perceived as a pest, whose dams can flood farms or people's houses. They can also cut down trees, which has meant the farmers and communities across the states didn't want them back, and their solution has been to relocate the beaver. In this film from the 1960s, government relocation plans captured beavers, then flew them by plane to other areas, dropping them by parachute in remote locations. Relocating beavers still goes on today. However, it doesn't have to be this way. These days, there's ways that beavers and man can coexist together. There are some simple, low-cost human interventions, which have been proven to work, that can keep the beaver in an area by applying solutions which prevent flooding of human resources. Pipes over and under dams increase water flow, with an entrance protected by a cage, and cages around the trees can prevent beavers from cutting down specific trees. Beavers are quick and agile in water, but not as good on land. They are slow and vulnerable to predators, and because beavers are the second largest rodent in the world, after the capybara, it means they have a lot of natural predators, like coyotes, wolves, bears, and mountain lions. Which is why beavers are mostly nocturnal to avoid predators, and do most of their work at night. And the way they escape from most terrestrial predators is by being in water that's deep enough, so they can hide. And that's where dams come in. Dams block the flow of water. They also make it deeper, and in doing so, they change.
Check out that dam right there, and see. I mean, you know what? That's a large, lengthy, and so probably started in this main channel. They would have done on each side a little anchor structure, and then kept adding to it. I mean, can you imagine the brain? And unfortunately, our evolutionists really aren't thinking past the thing that some expert, and we've heard our friends sometimes goes, well, I believe in the experts. Okay, no, you look at this. Don't believe in those experts that said this was a random chance bunch of mutations over deep time that is going to give that structure. You look at how it's not straight across in this one. They know the difference. It's an engineering thing. If you were going to engineer a dam, you don't want it straight across with your wood structure. It's going to take the pressure off. What they had, another one said, a video said, you just, it's just crazy. We'll keep watching because I don't have the words, because I'm just like, I couldn't do that. How long would that take me to do?
Change the amount and quality of water available in the stream system. Research has shown that waterways and ponds made by beavers greatly increase fish numbers, as they act as nurseries for fish like steelhead and salmon. Beavers live in beaver lodges, which they construct from branches and sticks. These are impressive constructions that can only be accessed from entrances under the water. This prevents any predators from entering, making the beaver's nest a safe place to sleep and rear their young. In this stop frame animation by Emily Fairfax, we can see the way beavers can change a landscape. Firstly, it shows how beaver dams hold water and become a pond. From the pond, beavers then dig canals out onto the landscape, dispersing this extra water on either side, and plants start to grow around the canals. And this is how beavers make wetlands, by broadening the area of the river around.
So actually, in this, and hopefully she'll get to it, they don't do the canals to disperse water. They're doing canals to protect themselves, and they will actually make a channel. They'll dig out the mud, put it on the edges to fortify their little kind of like you go to a water park and they have the log ride. They have that channel, and it's out of some kind of man-made material. But they're like little log rides, and you see them. And if you watch other ones, you'll see that beaver just like booking through those things. So those are just to get up into the woods because they're slow. A lot of predators, and they can go and harvest the sticks because you got that dam there. They've taken the trees all the way around this water when it first started. So, but doing the canals benefits by dispersing the water. Now, you may think, and if you do think that the beavers are planning, okay, we're getting too much water, let's disperse it. Either way, both of those, whether they're just trying to hide themselves, to get more food, get more material to build their dam. Awesome. This is like crazy complex. And again, it's.
I mean, honestly, though, Dan, I can do that. I just don't like to show off.
No, you actually wouldn't have probably thought of all that stuff. That is so much detail. I mean, and if you're a kid, I know Philip does it all the time. He'll dam stuff up, sometimes in my landscapes I'm doing, to make little ponds and things. We have one drainage ditch on a job, and he keeps damming it up. And it's like, oh, well, whatever. If we get a good enough rain, it'll wash it out anyway. But it's craziness.
Around it. This means when wildfires come, the wetlands created by the beavers are not affected. And as you can see in these photos, which took place after a wildfire, beavers' managed areas remained green, while all around them, the land is scorched and burnt. What we have seen is that inside the beaver complexes, they are storing so much water in the pond, in the canals, and in the soil, that even when droughts are ongoing for 2, 3, or even 4 years, there's enough water to keep the plants green. Which brings us to the astonishing examples of beavers restoring rivers in the desert. In the high deserts of Oregon over the course of the last 12 years, an incredible transformation has been seen from reintroducing beavers into the area. These high deserts are in the northernmost part of North America's Basin and Range Province. It covers an area of approximately 30,000 square miles and receives only 7 inches of rain a year. Before the beaver returned to the land, it was severely eroded. The rivers and streams had been simplified to make more land for farming, crops, and cattle, and the result was streams had cut through the highly erodible soil. The rivers had little life in them, and farming had left the land lifeless and degraded. The reintroduced beavers made dams, which flooded the land. Then they dug canals which spread the water out into creek banks, creating a growing wetland that's now home to all sorts of plants and animals. The beavers transformed the riverbed from a simplified straight line where water flowed quickly and caused erosion to creating a vibrant wetland of ponds and canals, which slows down the water flow and holds far more water.
I'm done spending an obscene amount of money on takeout every week. Done.
I'm getting back on track with fact checker. Fresh, never frozen.
Here we can see
meals
the
are
difference
fresh,
beavers
never
play on the
frozen.
landscape between 2009 and 2021. The result was an 8.
That food will actually make me. I don't want to eat after seeing that food. Plus, do you see how little amount that is? That's not
Yeah.
gonna. That's not gonna. I'm gonna need 10 of those to support your fat old landscaper. Sorry.
It's not enough for for somebody who's exercising either.
Yeah, we're like beavers. We need to consume a lot, 24 hours a day. Get back to it.
8-fold increase in the number of dams. All those dams slowed the water and backed up silt, which became fertile conditions for all types of plant life to grow and hold the ground together. In this next example, we're showcasing the incredible power of beavers to transform degraded land. We are in Nevada, where something absolutely amazing has happened out here in the desert. In Nevada, it's getting hotter and drier, but one part of the state is doing the opposite, and it's getting wetter and cooler. Because over the last 30 years, simple changes in how cattle are grazing on the land have led to the natural return of beavers in this desert river system called Dixie Creek. Nevada has a mostly arid climate, with rainfall averaging less than 10 inches per year. The state is mostly desert and semi-arid climate regions. 30 years ago, this was the state of the streams here. They were gravelly with little to no vegetation. This is because the grazing cattle would eat anything that grew there. As a result, the land was dry and lifeless, so a plan was hatched to build fences to keep the cattle away from the river's edge, and the cattle grazing was rotated so areas could recover without them clearing it completely. By doing this during the dry season and the hottest times of the year, vegetation by the rivers and streams began to grow back, which attracted beavers, and they quickly got to work, making dams up and down the river. The dams deepened the water and made...
Oh, let's go back a little bit. Look, check that out. Okay, keep going. I'll stop it.
quickly got to work, making dams up and down.
Look at that. Look at those sticks. That is engineering. You're starting with little stuff. They actually, in one of them, and I don't know if they're all, but they'll pound sticks down vertically first into the mud before they start sticking other sticks in a certain direction, size-wise, length, differing. And it's craziness. I don't have enough faith to be
They're
God.
architects.
Look at that. Architect, engineer, and that's the thing. That's what the secular community calls them. Because we're just kind of trying to give them personality. Why do you know? You're actually describing what the evidence is. That's a design. That's engineered.
Yes.
That is incredible. And so people that, as much designing or as much engineering they do is put shoes on and tie them. No, guys, this is not an easy project. I build ponds, and I'm looking at this, and it's like, what? It's like we did a job, and it cost the guy. I mean, it looks like, I mean, you can see this in the best Hawaiian or whatever resort. We did we crushed it, but this, and that was just a little pond that was 3 feet by about 30 feet long. Oh my gosh, I just can't express the amount people go out and use your hands. Try to do something like this on your little, in your yard. You're going to lose. And that's with shovels. You even use concrete, you're going to lose. Because also, and I don't think I mentioned, and I don't think I heard one of the videos, this is porous. It lets water through. It's not watertight. because what would happen if we make a total watertight dam, even in, I don't care, and I'll go out on a limb, no, I won't. If we do a concrete structure,
Hey,
and
Dan, can you do this as a tax write-off?
I don't know. I need right now. I need more income so I can actually need to pay more taxes. But we won't go there. But you look at this, and there is built-in spillways, and like they'll say, if there's a breach, they will come patch it. But this is porous to let water through because they know how. And again, they know they wait to a point and then they can put their lodge on it. Well, if they build this too high, it's going to submerge their lodge. So they have to keep this regulated to keep their lodge from either drying out, which would be no protection, and then the door's not underwater, and creatures could come in and kill them, or if they don't regulate it and they build it too high and the water rises too much, it's going to flood their house, guys. And when you see from a designer's aspect, it's not just, oh, that cute little thing threw some sticks down and evolution gave it a flat tail so it could throw mud on it, and it's like, oh well, no, they had to have the right kind of hands to be able to bulldoze the mud, because this is also covered with mud. Well, you can't take that little, that has to be specialized because it can't take the mud from just right around the dam. What if as you're building your dam, you keep digging the mud right there? You're going to, the water pressure is going to be, your dam's going to be 3 or 4 times higher where the water is because you got dug all the mud out. So that mud has to be taken from all over farther away. It's just the engineering on this is just mind-boggling. But anyway, any comments on it so far? Here we go.
Down the river, the dams deepen the water and made floodplains. Now, even in severe droughts, the creek is still wet. Lush vegetation grows in contrast to the desert around it. The beaver's work is fantastically good at slowing down the water in the channel, dropping out sediment and building floodplains, and most importantly, storing water. Once that was set in motion, everything changed. The water which would quickly flow through the land is now backed up, and what were dry gullies are now thriving wetlands. The beavers have recharged the groundwater, creating a wetland paradise. Beavers are considered a keystone species due to their vital contribution to ecosystem building. But where beavers are not available, there are other methods that can be used with similar effects. If you are interested to learn more about this, then check out this video here. Thank you for watching another video brought to you by Leaf of Life. If you want to learn more about the work we do, then make sure to check out this link here.
Craziness. Now, one thing, and I didn't stop it in time, but it showed one section where the beavers put multiple dams in the same area because they know that, it might be too much of a slant. They were saying too much grade to it. So, you would have had to have a 20-foot dam, but they put 3 or 4 back. It's just, come on, guys. Saying that I don't have enough faith to believe this happened by random chance mutations is not expressible. You can kind of hear it. So, do we have another one? That one was cool. Oh, let's see. If I do this, I don't know what I'm doing. If we go a little farther, it should give us another bunch.
Take a look at this strange device that
Or to do that of a strange guy with a strange car. Okay. Oh, I know what we can do. How about this? Oh, look at that. That was cute.
A master engineer that can build giant megastructures that benefit its ecosystem. A destructive agent of chaos that can wreck acres of farmland. Or a fluffy fur machine that's the prime material for fancy hats. This giant North American rodent has battled public perceptions for centuries. But today, we're setting the record straight. This is the symbol of Canada, the North American beaver.
Hi, I'm Danielle Dufault, and you're watching Animal Logic. Beavers are one of the most recognizable animals in the world, and today we're in Algonquin Park looking for some.
Their engineering prowess is legendary. Their flat, scaly textured tail is unique among rodents, and their effects on their environment are only surpassed by humans.
There are 2 species in the world, but for today's episode, we're going to focus on my neighbors, the North American beaver, Castor canadensis.
These guys are found throughout most of North America.
So we went through that one. I am going to change it. You guys can go through that. There was another one, and let's see. We'll back up on that. Andrew, is that the craziest thing you've ever seen? One of them. Oh, did he go? He left us. Steven, are you there? Nobody.
I am here. I was just playing around on Canva for Jay. But I can't believe... Oh! The best general that God ever made has just entered the room, guys. You should all feel honored.
Kelly.
Why did you stop it, though? Did you stop it for me?
Oh, well, I did that one before. And so I was going to put on another one that, because there's so many cool ones.
One thing that I've been noticing, as I've been watching this brilliant work that it does, my perspective has shifted in all that we are going through as believers and new believers, and I'm seeing this world from a creator perspective. Like, why would he be needed? And it's so mind-blowing how rivers by themselves, they are not creating ecosystems like that because they are flowing. So something was needed to stop the flow and create the ecosystems. So on one side, we have there is no chance that this evolved with mutations and it became so perfect because it must have been imperfect in the past. And on the other side, it is so obvious why a designer would have designed that animal. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Isn't it crazy? Because you look, and again, with man's knowledge, and this isn't secular religious, this is just man's knowledge. Where I live in California, a lot of places, we have flooding problems. What do we need to do? We need to make concrete channels to get the water. As soon as it rains, you got to get the water into those channels and out to the ocean as fast as possible. And in California, what have you seen? Forest fires. After hundreds of years of this kind of land management, where God says we are to take care of His creation, and it took all this. This is, if anybody drives through Nevada, has the pleasure, which I've done, it's like 36 hours driving through. I don't know how long it is, but it was a good long time. And that scene you saw with the dryness, that's it for most of the day. You're just driving straight through this horrible, horrible thing. And you look with just what some beavers did over, 30 years? Oh my gosh. Nevada, one of the driest, they said it's, I'm not going to say anything. It's a dry state. I won't say which one, because I just heard it off of experts, but that they restored it within 30 years in those sections. That should be the whole country. But man's, and where they made the mistake. It's like, we got to have farmland. We got to feed people. Wow. Just think the amount of animal life that is produced by those, the beavers, the amount of deer, elk, animals that then could be used as food. And so man, in his wisdom, and not evilly, just through his wisdom, has tried to get the water off the land as quick as possible. And we, in our intelligence, the most intelligent creatures on the planet, we are told by some, have really done bad. But check this one out. This is beavers getting ready for winter. And here we go.
A beaver can fell a cottonwood tree in just a few hours. hundreds in a year. The beaver doesn't chew through the whole trunk, just enough to make the tree unstable. It then retreats and lets the wind do the rest. It cuts branches into more manageable lengths, and then swims them down a network of purpose-built canals towards the dam.
Purpose-built canals. So those are not just natural creeks. Those, and not maybe this one's bigger, but they're making canals because the trees, you can see how far they are. There's some close to the water because it's been dammed up. They haven't got to those, or they might be the wrong ones. It looks like pine back there, or Douglas fir. They say they don't like that. I don't know why. Oh yeah, most of those look like conifers. They're not good tasting. So they will actually dig out canals to get closer to the trees they need to get the dam to the proper size and to maintain it. Craziness.
The pond gives this beaver protection from predators, and the canals allow it to forage far into the forest, carrying many times its own weight with ease.
Now, I have fallen trees that size. That's not easy. Plus the chainsaw isn't cheap, and to keep it sharp. Could you imagine where the beaver's teeth just naturally are chiseled away, but they're chiseled in a way also to make them keep them sharp? Oh my gosh, I just buy new chains because it takes, oh man, sharpening chains are annoying. But on that, you got to watch where the trees grow and how tall. Is it straight? Is there more weight to one side? Which way do you want it to fall? And it's like, come on, some giant rat is doing it. Come on, guys.
Autumn is the busiest time of year for beavers. It won't be so easy to make repairs when the pond is frozen over. The sound of running water is their stimulus to shore up gaps with timber and plug leaks with mud. But the dam not only serves the beavers. Moose come here from the forests around to feed on weeds that thrive in the beaver's shallow pond. The weed is rich in vital sodium that the forest can't easily provide. But now that winter is approaching, another essential role for the dam is revealed. These smaller branches are not for fixing the dam. They're for eating. The beaver secures them to the mud in the lake bottom. In just a few weeks, this lake will be frozen, and the beavers won't be able to cut and move trees, but they will be able to swim right under the ice to feed.
So now your little brain there is going from building material to food storage. Okay, come on, guys. Another layer of complexity that guy has to figure out. Is like, again, and we joke about it, but it's a funny joke. How many beavers died because they starved to death in the wintertime? You guys, you can't keep your population growing and going. And then sure, these beavers could have come from, and there are beavers in warmer areas. And so, yeah, well, they started there in the warming areas, and they'd migrate up when they got kicked out of their houses, and they'd get to cold places. They'd go for the summer. They'd build, oh no, then they're dead because they don't have water or they don't have food stored up. Come on, guys. We have them all the way into Canada. Freezing cold. Let's see what these little guys magically came up with in their little brains.
Feed from this underwater larder. Moose also eat twigs and branches and often try to take advantage of the beaver's hard labor. This young male is getting a little too close to the beaver's larder. Autumn is not a time for sharing.
So then the tail turns into a shush the 2-ton or 1-ton animal out of my food. That's crazy. Oh man, you see that poor moose? Like, I'm just trying to steal some food. Come on now. Oh, what'd I do?
Amazing animal. Amazing. Did I hear it's the national animal of Canada?
It is. I've heard that.
But they are killing them, no?
Not now. They're probably protected. That now down in the South, those evil Southerners, I believe, are because I saw one video that they were destroying, and they will if you've got your farm there, and then actually we should see that in wrong direction. No, wrong direction again. Oh, how fun! I'm gonna do this forever now. Okay, don't give me buttons. The
and buttons.
The now and the video you came in on was showing how they have relocated, and it was just by chance. These smart people said, hey, let's not, the beavers are going extinct. Let's just move them into a place to keep them out of people's way, because they're destroying the farmlands, they're destroying stuff. And then it turns out the ecology of just trying to save them from extinction showed what they do. That was an accident. Originally, they didn't, what was said back in the 50s, 60s, 40s, whatever it is, they didn't do that as a way to reclaim waterlands and make waterlands again. They did that to protect the beaver. By chance, they did that, and now they know. It's like, oh my gosh, look at that. In a desert, we have tons of water. God's design for the planet is awesome.
Amen.
Yeah, so if we would have taken care of animals instead of like, oh, that looks pretty as a hat, let's just kill as many as we can. That's not God's way. Is to be stewards of the land. Talk about it, and I'll look for some more cool things. Or did you have another one, Stephen?
Nah. Stephen, are you here?
I am here, and I would have been talking more if I had realized that I was actually unmuted. I'm just making a an overlay for Pastor Jay that I think he's really gonna like, and so that's what my silence was for. I'm over here geeking out on Canva.
Let me show you guys at first just the first seconds of the video that I'm making, but we're not gonna see the video. I just made a funny moment at the beginning, and I like it so much that I want to share it with you.
All right. Hey, I made those changes that you recommended on the video for Dan.
Oh yeah? Did you find
and Krista wanted me to tell you that she had the same recommendations that you did.
Did you find that lurking picture of the Proverbs logo that was somewhere in the timeline?
No, I left it there on purpose.
Oh.
I kind of did. Because I saw it and I was like, yeah, free advertisement.
Subliminal. Ah, I get it now. All right. Okay. Check this out. This is just 5 seconds or something. something's wrong with the audio, and I don't know if it happened here. Did you hear the knock when he knocked on the door, or earlier?
I heard the knock.
I heard it, but I don't know if it went out. That was backstage, or
was it when he knocked on the door, or earlier? Because he's knocking on the door when the camera is on top here. Did you hear it here, or did you hear it earlier? Because it might be bugging on my side. It matters because what's coming next, the audio should be aligned. So I don't know. If Max is doing this to me sometimes to have a choppy playback when I'm watching something. But okay, I'll play and see how it goes.
What the f is this?
So I spoke Greek. Man, what? Did you guys see that, or did you just hear that?
Yeah, and I think I understand Greek somehow. It sounded like you said, "What the f is this?"
I'm going.
I think I understand Greek somehow.
I'm going to on YouTube for a second. Let me mute myself and remove this from the scene and see what happened there. If it was just on my side.
Very good. We're echoing. I don't know if that's me or him or both.
Okay. I'm dazed and confused. Okay, so I'm muting myself here, going to YouTube for a sec, but it has a delay of a couple of minutes there. So I'll be right back.
There he goes. It is great for radio. I am looking up more beaver stuff. That is because this in itself.
I pray you have your safe search on, Dan.
It must be, because I never get anything that would be Claude Balls approved. So we're good.
Okay, so no, you didn't see it. You just heard that saying, "What is this?" But you did not hear that. You didn't see the visual. So I don't. Maybe it's because it is a lot of megapixels per second, and if Max has a problem playing it. But okay, it was just an idea for a funny moment. Discard it. Let's proceed.
Very cool. Let me.
Not so cool. I'm sorry.
Not yours. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my little beavers again. Next, I'll have to show you. One of these days, it'll be gophers. They're the closest I have to beavers in in designing and engineering what they do. Let's see. All right, are you done, Achilles?
Oh yeah, I ain't gonna play, so proceed with the show, sir. Sorry for the interruption.
No,
And
that was intermission.
Steven, brother, you are flattering me, but can you hear me?
Yes.
I've never been to a single battle, so
look, that is actually irrelevant. You have the heart of a general.
Spiritual battles, I'm all for them, but
yep. That's the real battle.
We haven't seen any physical battles this century, so I wouldn't know. But thanks.
All right, let's see this guy.
We saw that.
That's a different one. must have been stock footage. We'll try to get
And now, I may not see the beavers for some time. They can stay underwater for 5 minutes at a time, up to 15.
See, I had to have all these videos because, yes, their lungs evolved larger so that they can they can hold their breath for 15 minutes. Now, that sounds, oh, yeah. No, there's more than just that, because unless they have something supernatural, no, I won't go that far. How is their brain not dying after 15 minutes underwater? How is it getting and that much oxygen also, not just holding its breath, but it's able to keep the brain going for 15 minutes? It's yet again another thing that on top of all those characteristics in this little creature is beyond words for me.
If they need to, they can actually get back to the safety of their lodge without putting their head above.
What's that?
I think we found Claude.
I mean, actually, I'm going to be so serious when I say I was thinking the exact same thing, Achilles.
If he pretends to speak French like Claude does, I think that's our guy.
No, this guy's I've watched the video. This guy is really intelligent.
Then it's not.
Yeah,
okay.
No.
Okay, no. It can't be.
Above the surface for a single second.
Most lodges have at least 2 different entrances. By October, winter is well underway. But whereas marmots would now be hibernating, the beavers are still active and will remain that way throughout the winter. Even when the pond ice is over completely, they're still able to swim under the ice to get back and forth to their lodge. No one knew exactly what went on inside the lodge during winter, so when the beavers were away, we installed a couple of infrared cameras in order to find out. A branch from the fridge is being brought back to the lodge for the whole family to feed on.
But, and again, you look at this, and this is BBC, British Broadcasting. It's their public thing. But listen to the language they use. It's, they go, oh, this is just endearing language. No, they're actually expressing the language of what they see. You've got material to be eaten, stored away, and especially in that, it's a nice cold thing, and they're going to harvest it and bring it. They're going to take it from that location, from the refrigerator, in to eat during the winter. And they'll get, oh, that's just hyperbole, or that's just cute language for entertainment. But they're expressing what they are looking at. This is. It's just above words. Come on, let's keep going.
And another. No wonder they don't need to hibernate with this ingenious setup. The lodge is warm and safe even in midwinter, and the only sign of activity in the snug home beneath the snow is hot air rising from the vent at the top. Inside, our cameras catch a glimpse of what, at first sight, looks like a very small beaver. It's a muskrat. There are a pair of them in here. This is a new observation. Do the beavers actually know in the pitch blackness that there are strangers among them? We noticed that the muskrats regularly left the lodge to forage under the ice. And on several occasions, they returned a few minutes later with a load of fresh reeds. Perhaps perhaps the muskrats are paying rent by regularly providing fresh bedding for the lodge.
Now, if I built that structure, I was going to let others into it. I'm going to charge them more than just bringing back some scraps that they're eating anyway. I mean, again, listen to the language that, they're playing. No, because what are you looking at here? Where's that guy going to go? And then with the ice, yeah, we have beavers all over the United States. And in the South, they don't have to worry about the freeze in the wintertime. So they just happened to make structures that wouldn't have been bothered by winter frozen conditions, and it's adaptable somewhere else. Guys, I don't know. I'm really starting to want to start a GoFundMe for all my friends who have so much faith. I'm worried about them. I'm very worried about them. I think we should.
Dan,
Yes, sir.
also, our new host, Angela, is in the comment section.
Oh, hi, Angela. That was great. Oh, that is great. I was thinking of from last night. Welcome, Angela. You should give her a link, and she can come on in and know what she's dealing with the crazy Proverbs hosts. But anyway, we'll keep going with this. So the structure of the beaver is these little guys have a symbiotic relationship with the beaver, and what a palace they got to go into. And again, another complexity in nature that, you guys have so much faith. I'm jealous.
Maybe that is why the beavers accept them and even allow them to share their food.
Okay, again, though, the narration on these kind of videos that are showing nature are just giving evidence like anybody would see. They're seeing the evidence, and they're actually commenting like you would think really is going on.
Right.
This is and instead of, those guys are trespass, in nature, those guys are in there. The beavers are just whatever. They could kill them in a second, but why bother? Whatever. No, they're not like, oh, look at my little friends. We've got pets in our castle. No, guys, when you're looking at nature, you are doing a disfavor to the children, to the next generations who are actually going to think those beavers are actually thinking that kind of stuff. To me, there's more intelligence in the beavers than this narrator and whoever wrote it. Because if somebody showed me that, it's like, come on, guys, come on. That's nobody's going to believe this. This is so far-fetched, and we're supposed to be doing a nature thing. And so then maybe instead of the other way, when they're saying in other places, billions of years this and slow gradual mutations, that's what it is. I figured it out, guys. They're also just fantasy talk. Just like these guys are renting out a room, which is nothing to do with what these guys are doing. And over billions of years, we should take it in the same vein. But check more of this out.
Our infrared lights, however, are no longer welcome, it seems.
Don't tell me that was all on that one. We didn't get to see the babies.
Who's coming in the drop?
Here's a baby.
Yeah. But we didn't get to see the baby beavers. Anyway, how many more you want to go? These can go all day long. It's just incredible. And
the thing is, if people don't see it yet, that this creature, as every other creature, has a designer, how many can you play for one of them? You know, they just don't want to get it. They are so indoctrinated into believing in, and as you said, having so much faith in that indoctrination, because if you put the math down, it just doesn't work. And I had many disagreements with what Christian was saying, but I didn't want to interrupt. Yes, we label evolution on being a very specific thing, and Big Bang being a very specific thing, but they are all theories. And the reason they call them theories is because they don't have proof. They have some assertions, which they see some facts, and they say they connect them as being evidence for evolution, but they have other explanations as well. The red shift and the blue shift, they have another possible explanation, because supposedly stars are going further or they're coming closer, but they're still exactly where they were from where we first started seeing them. And you can do an experiment. You can build with a very small Raspberry Pico. I know some of you don't understand what that is, but others that might be listening can. And connect a LED, which is red, connect one that is blue, light up the red one, and you'll see that around it, guess what color it exists? Not on the LED, around it, red. And when you open up the blue, everything around it becomes blue. But if you light them both together, the light that comes out is white. So what we see outside is white lights. But if we put them on the infrared, we see that some of them are red, some of them are blue. Yes, but I can do the same with two LEDs on my table. They're not going away. They're not coming closer to me. So the whole thing, they are trying to marginalize it and say, we know that this part of the theory is true. Yeah, but that part requires a foundation, which are the other parts. But they are trying to separate them. For example, they will say, yeah, well, abiogenesis is not part of evolution. I don't give a flying shit whether you want to call it part of it, but it is. You cannot have things evolving from something, but that something had a creator.
Well, yeah, and actually to correct them, and yeah, and we don't want things flying around
Pardon,
here.
my friend.
I know, but no, it is. And see, they're the ones that are miscommunicating, because they're talking about biological evolution. Doesn't have to do with abiogenesis, but the
How is
evolution.
that possible? Can you just explain?
No. I'm just saying, defining terms. When they say evolution, they're wrong by not saying biological evolution. They are excluding things that actually show that it's not possible to do what they're doing, and what it's not possible to have biology with.
You can't have biological evolution if you don't have chemical evolution.
Correct. And then they'll say, "Oh, that's not." No, we can look at the science. Now you guys can fight those who believe that evolution does not include chemical evolution. You take that up with the chemical evolutionists. You biological snobby evolutionists argue with the stellar evolutionists, not me. I'm just giving you what the experts say. And then so that's why I don't even say then evolution of chemicals, because it's like talking to a cultist. If you say Jesus is God to a Jehovah's Witness, their brain's gonna like click off. There's a little key in there, and as soon as you say it, boom, they've been brainwashed. And so the same thing with the biology evolutionist is that that's the only game in town. As soon as you say chemical evolution, they're brainwashing, clicking them down, because no, it'll hurt their brains if they actually look at abiogenesis. It's not brain surgery. It's chemicals. We can see chemicals working. H2O, hydrogen, getting together with oxygen becomes water. And so that's the simplicity of chemicals attracting. But then to get life, we know what life is. Now, we know, though, that it cannot be 100%. We can always say, and even the evolutionist, biological evolutionist will say that it's not the life today. It was a simpler life back then. But we know what we have defined life as: something that lives in an environment. It interacts with that environment. It gets nourishment from that environment. It reproduces in that environment. So there is, and then it's contained. You have to have a lining. You have to have the sphere in which it's in. And we know now that it can't be some piece of clay that turned into the shell, no matter what they say, because how can you then evolve that shell when life is living just fine, but you have to then evolve the genetics that's in that little shell, because they deny even the lining. But I'm going to say life has to have the encasement. It has to have the skin, the cell lining. And so you look at that and so, okay, let's put together a respiratory system, and we can see simple ones, but you have to have power for that cell. So you have to have some kind of you're going to unload something there for us, Achilles.
Yeah, kind of that favorite moment. People that are listening to us, they just gotta realize that we are the ones that are on the scientific side.
This is why they keep talking.
By a very slow process.
Well, how did it? They are lying to you.
Yes.
Viewers, they are lying to you, and they're pretending to be scientists.
This is one of the most famous biology scientists, Dr. Richard Dawkins.
No, yeah, okay. I can't jump to that moment. So let's hear
let's hear this. Let's hear from the expert.
Yeah. Nobody knows how it started. We know the kind of event that it must have been. We know the sort of event that must have happened for the origin of life.
What was that?
It was the origin of the first self-replicating molecule.
Right. How did that happen?
I told you we don't know.
So you have no idea how it started?
No. Nor has anybody.
Nor has anyone else.
I'm a synthetic organic chemist. Origin of life is purely synthetic organic chemistry. There's no way around it. I'm perfectly situated to be commenting on this, to be critiquing the origin of life research. It is abiological. It is before biology takes over. This is purely synthetic organic chemistry. And making these compounds, it's very simple. 4 classes of compounds. You have to make them from what's available on a presumed prebiotic earth. And so the chemistry is not hard for a synthetic organic chemist to follow, and any trained synthetic organic chemist can follow me on this. And I've never seen a synthetic organic chemist disagree with me on this. In fact, the people that might disagree with me are biologists because they've never made anything. The only thing they may have made is they buy a kit and they make it, which is made by chemists, but they've never made anything ab initio. And so it's the synthetic chemist that can critique origin of life research better than anyone else. So go ahead, ask your synthetic chemist friends to listen to what I have to say. If they have anywhere a master's degree or beyond, in synthetic organic chemistry, have them critique what I say. We do not know how to build even a simple bacterium. The simplest bacterium with its 256 protein coding genes, we have no idea how to build it. First of all, we don't know how to build the molecules, the 4 classes of molecules that are needed for it. We don't know how to, even if we had those 4 classes of molecules, assemble them even into the simplest of bacteriums. We don't know how to do that. One can do that with the technologies we have today. We can make technologies, but we can't even make the simplest bacterium. Anybody who would say something contrary does not know what they are talking about. Show me the demonstration. Nobody has ever done it. And it's not because of lack of effort. It's not because of lack of will. First of all, they haven't been able to get the molecules to do this. And if they could make the molecules, even if we were to give them the molecules, they wouldn't have the information. There would be no inherent information in the DNA. But even if we gave them the DNA in the structure that they wanted, they wouldn't know how to put all the components together because of the sophistication within a cell. The interactomes, meaning that the interacting connectivity between the molecules, the van der Waals interactions, all of these have to be in the right place and in the right order for a cell to function. We don't even know how to define life, let alone knowing how to spark it to begin. When one looks at a typical textbook, one will see some prehistoric pond and molecules, and those molecules coming together and forming a cell, and those cells coming together and some slithering creature coming out of this pond. That is fallacious. There is no truth in that. We don't even know how to make the molecules. We are lost on how to do this. We can't even make the basic building blocks. But even if we could, from prebiotic type environment to make these, with all the intellect that we put into this, even if we could make them, we have no idea how to assemble them. You say, well, we can make the liposome, the cell membrane. We cannot. There's over 40,000 lipids have been identified in cell membranes. You want to take some simple ones? It's not just individual lipid membranes. You have to have the inside and the outside of the membrane have to be different. You have to have this huge array of proteins, that transmembrane proteins, and you have to have carbohydrates on the surface as identifiers. Even in the simplest bacterium, we have no idea how to put the structure together. It's not there. So not only do we not know how to make the basic components, we do not know how to build the structure even if we were given the basic components. So the Gedanken experiment is this: even if I gave you all the components, even if I gave you all the amino acids, all the protein structures from those amino acids that you wanted, all the lipids in the purity that you wanted, the DNA, the RNA, even in the sequence that you wanted, so I'm even giving you the code. And so now I say, and all the nucleic acids, can you now assemble a cell here in your individual bodies, not in your individual laboratories, not in a prebiotic cesspool, but in your nice laboratory? And the answer is a resounding no. And if anybody claims otherwise, they do not know this area. This is how far the misunderstanding has gone. Even science professors, even biology professors, think that there is a near building of life, that we understand all the ways to build life. We do not. Not only have none of the molecules been made ab initio under prebiotic-like conditions to make the homochiral molecules that are made. Remember, we need 4 classes of molecules. We need the nucleic acids, and then the homochiral systems that for the amino acids, which then need to be built up into protein structures. We need the carbohydrates, which have to be built up into the polycarbohydrate structures. And then we need the lipids, which also are chiral. All of these we need in homochiral form. We don't know how to do this in any prebiotic type scenario at all. These have not been made. and then to assemble these into a cell. It's never been done. So there's a gross misunderstanding. And this misunderstanding has come because of the projections of those who work in the area of origin of life. They do one little thing and then they extrapolate it, and then they work with the press to ramp it up even more, and they project as if they really know it. And so the layperson reads this and says, you see, scientists understand. And then it's not just the layperson. Scientists think that other scientists understand all of this, but they do not. So this is a cell. What is the origin of life? How do you get a cell like this?
And this is what they do. They will say, we know from science. No, we don't. It's a lie. We don't know from science. We know from evolutionists who influence the press with money, and they print beautiful magazines that tell you that millions of years ago your cousin was a sponge, or your great 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 grandfather. That's why you are now square pants, and you believe everything you hear, because your great 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 grandfather was a sponge. So that was it from a scientist, a synthetic chemist. And, Claude disagrees, but who cares? Just people worry for your soul and your salvation, and don't listen to paid seals, because you have a creator. He created you that way. He gave you all the problems that you are meant to deal with, and you can improve. Don't fall into depression because everything is random and you happen to throw a bad dice on the board. That's not the case. And you have a destiny. And you were created for that destiny. You are given the problems that fit your shoes. Not bigger, not smaller.
Yeah, and this is where, we as, again, 2025 is going to be a nicer year from Proverbs Guys, in that, we have the same evidence, and we're not going to, again, I thought I let him back on, but somebody who came in, it was just somebody that was in comments, then came onto the show because I wanted dialogue. And he ended up saying, well, Dan, you should know, you're the designer expert. It's like,
no, yeah, I hear that guy is all ad hominems. If I was to be in charge of who comes and goes, he wouldn't be allowed around, not even in the chat, not even in a channel that is next to our channel.
I had taken him off stage because of that comment, because that is somebody trying to use ad hominems, because he uses the other fallacy that he believes in the authority. And
we just gave them the authority. That's what's crazy, right? We just gave them the authority.
We gave him
a synthetic chemist.
And then so then he is not an abiogenesis scientist, though. Origin of life.
He is that's exactly what he is. And he just gave us a number. He said there are 70,000 lipids on the outside of the membrane of the simplest cell, and exactly the same number on the inside, and they have to match. A lipid is the pore where something is going to lock in. It has a specific code for something to lock there and open up and
little portals.
Release the RNA, so the cell can have something inside it which gets filtered by those lipids. And there are 70,000 on the most basic cell.
Yeah, and so that you can't really change, because, even if it's a primitive cell, it still needs a cell lining. And so to correct
if it doesn't have a cell lining, if it doesn't have a cell membrane, then it will die immediately because everything will manage to get in. So it requires it. Right?
Exactly, and
So
that's
if it
their
has it, how did it know to create the specific lipids for the things that it needed? It's the first one.
exactly. But just to back up a little bit, Dr. Tours is a synthetic chemist. So in his
Yes.
lab, he creates stuff, but he's not an abiogenesis. He's not a origin of life scientist. He just knows chemistry. And these
He
people,
just said
little
though. He just said that there is no synthetic chemist that disagrees with him on this. And the only one that will disagree with that is a biologist because they don't understand how things are made. It's not their job. The job is the synthetic chemist to know how things are made because it goes down to chemistry. It comes down to chemistry.
correct. And though what he will get them disagreeing in public, because to do it, and like what they've come against, even the the scientists, mainly the scientists that are in the creation of life, um, abiogenesis science, they attack him for believing in Jesus Christ. They don't touch his science. Only but person that was dumb enough to do it was some guy on YouTube who was a musician who I think now has some kind of degree. Um, no, that's somebody that really he did exactly what our friend did here, and he took the fallacy of authority. And then though Dr. Tours has challenged them because he's attacked them, they have attacked him. Because all he said is like, no, what they got going is not going to work. You've got to have these chemicals. They can't even make those basic building blocks, like he said, from um, early Earth conditions. You have to. Most of them are bought in. If they've made some, and he's gone through a great channel, Dr. James Tours. He's not even a young Earth creationist. He's a guy who is a synthetic chemist who he teaches it, and he has, I don't know how many patents. He has so many patents of things that his group have created through mixing chemicals. But he said you go through the procedure that he has, and they're step by step. For one little thing he made, it was 200 pages, because other scientists that look at his peer-reviewed paper, they want to make sure he's done it right. So 200 pages just to show that he's made some little micro motor type of thing out of chemistry. And go check it out. It's fascinating. But then he goes, and so he's reading these people who are trying to create the first life, and he shows their papers, and he shows that yeah, they bought these chemicals. Well, they were able to produce some of these building blocks, but they were so much percent useless. And like Dr. Tour showed, they can't have any junk with them. That's why and I'd heard him before, the whole Miller-Urey experiment in 1952, where they did the flask. You saw the pictures, the glass, and put chemicals in it that they thought was early Earth, and then they put electricity through it, and they made up to 10 or 20 amino acids, which are building blocks. But what did they have to do once they were created? They had to remove them. They had to physically remove them out of the mix of chemicals, because if they would have left those amino acids in there, they would have kept on changing. They would have kept on evolving to junk. Chemicals, and here's a scientific thought, and you guys show me a paper that it's not, or you can just tell me, is that chemicals do not go towards organization. Chemicals are just chemicals. They'll bond. They'll get a bunch of bonds like a dog pile. They'll fall apart. Then other things will connect. And you need pure situations, clean, to be able to build and to make, because they even make RNA in the lab, but they just take it from other sources. They don't make it from scratch. And this isn't a pure, sterile chemistry lab. So you got to imagine, and I don't care which one, whether it's a vent down in the ocean, I don't care if it's a pond with lightning striking it, whatever your asteroids from outer space attributing to it, you still have to have all the amino acids, all the whatever parts you need to make that first life, they have to be there. And because just as our DNA, and you look, and everybody's probably seen the DNA models where they're connected so perfectly. Well, that's chemical reactions. Nothing's guiding it to do there. Some, like your H2O, the water molecules, the basic ones will the hydrogens and oxygens will connect. But when you're talking about things that need 200 connections on some of the simple proteins or even amino acid things, that you have to have them exact. And one little connection, like you're building a Lego or a little chain out of whatever you want to make it out of, paper clips. You have to do it the right way, or it's going to mess up. It's going to fall apart. And yeah, it's craziness.
Mm-hmm.
For it, Achilles. Do you have another one of those? I saw the cell one. Because this has to do. So now we showed the beaver and the massive dams, the design, the engineering, the thought that has to go. And to think it's instinct is even a bigger problem. It's not like you're like, oh, this water is too shallow. Mr. Beaver thinks to himself, how am I going to make this creek deeper so I don't get eaten by every mountain lion that comes around? I'm going to make a dam and dam this up. That's forethought. So if you think that's just instinct, that it's not even, it's just something that a baby comes out and starts doing. There's no thought behind it. That's impossible, guys. Impossible by your...
I timed out your friend.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Dad.
And I was going to let him back in. No. And that just shows,
I just can't deal with that stupidity anymore. We saw him, a synthetic chemist, speaking, and he just keeps babbling. So
yeah, and
you are absolutely useless, Mr. Claude, and worthless.
Well,
Can
and
you just get away?
this shows, but I like this, and hopefully don't ban him out. Put that back up.
Just put him timeout. He'll come. He'll go to another channel we are broadcasting, and he will.
Oh, that's okay. But no, let's just analyze this. Analyze this, and what fallacy is this? He can Google. There's a Google find peer-reviewed papers. I don't know what it's called, scientific Google or whatever. Those are supposed to be all scientific papers. You can go look for it, because you're the one making the extreme claim that what we see in the beavers, what we saw in these cells, could happen by random chance, unguided mutations. And so look at this statement here, and I love it. I keep it up, because this is nonsense, Dan. So what is nonsense? Are we talking about the beaver structures?
No, I ban him forever for this comment.
No, not yet, because I actually like this. Look at how.
Look.
I'll put that away. You can. That's a good way to, because let's see. Don't we call that? What kind of malicious?
Ban him.
No, Claude. No, be happy when he does that. We're talking about design. We're talking about the creation. Instead of defending his faith, his religious-like faith, that everything could pop into existence by random chance, unguided processes, he's coming up and talking about flat Earth. Dude,
he has to bring
Achilles.
something up, to
No,
divert the
Achilles.
attention.
He is showing that he's got nothing. Everybody that watches this can see it's like, wait a minute, why is Claude? Have we said anything here about flat Earth? No. Why is Claude trying to attack what you're talking about, the cell, which is you're putting up a scientific information which showed science, and he says he follows science, but that's not following science. That's a fallacious argument. Claude, fallacious arguments mean you don't have an argument. And
So
just him saying,
we brought up a synthetic chemist who said that no synthetic chemist with a master's degree or above disagrees with me.
well, I'll go
But
one
here
step forward.
we're dealing with some people that don't even have a high school degree.
Well, no,
But
because he
they have a
doesn't.
keyboard because their mama bought them
And
one.
I don't know what he has, but I follow Dr. James Tours. I've watched a lot of his stuff, and you can say, oh, well, that's just him. No, he's put a claim out and a challenge to he knows, he's talked, he's chatted with the abiogenesis scientist. He's challenged them. Show me where I'm wrong in the science. They come back, and you can see, go to James Tour's channel, and you will see these scientists, these guys making claims that by, what was it? One of them was 2014, they would have created life in the lab. Guys, nobody's created life in a lab. And so when you look at that, though, they come back and go, and you'll see the videos. He's challenged them to show, Claude, that's the science that you were trying to tell me about. Show the papers. Show it, because they show him papers. He goes through those papers and show how they are garbage. And then, but now these abiogenetics, the leading abiogenesis scientists in the world, not a big field, so there's not that many of them. Well, James Tours believes in creation. That's their answer. That is their answer, just like what Claude is doing. So, Achilles, leave those comments. I want to see it. Actually, too bad we couldn't have Claude's comments on the total screen. So even like people like me that can't read very well can watch and see the idiocy of the unintelligent statements. I've done a show now. We're on here for almost 3 hours on the awesome creating power of a little rodent, big rodent, 40 pounds, they said it could get to around. That showed the and they showed us garbage. They showed us Miller-Urey experiment to show that life can happen. We found out how life happened. No, you didn't. That was a big lie. They knew it back then, it was a lie. And so you're trying to then sell me another bridge. I fell for that back in the 70s. You got to give me evidence, because I don't care. If there's no God, I'd still do it, because I know the happiness, the joy I feel from not living the way I used to, like you, Claude. I know how that feels. I know you're in darkness. You just want to lash out. There's no true love inside you. Obviously, because of your comments are always so gutter like. And anyway, not always, a good percentage of them, including your name, including your channel, is something that a 10-year-old, I gotta tell my 12-year-old, no, it's not appropriate to talk about that. It's not appropriate to tell jokes about body parts. Oh, but I've got this smart guy who does it. Why can't I? No. See, the example you're giving, Claude, is just bringing society down. It's not bringing it up. Anyway, where are we? Oh, we got some cool ones. Let's see. Tours is. Oh, I can't see that. What does that say?
Okay, irrelevant, but he says Tor is irrelevant, but so you want them a little bigger, the
Yes, please.
chat. So I can edit that. The only thing with it, Max, is that if you have something like this, like a chat box, then every time somebody comes in, it doesn't automatically align the windows. You
Oh,
have to
that's okay.
manually.
Can you see them? Can you see them then? Because the first one is Tor is irregular.
Irrelevant, he says.
Yeah.
So
So
I
because it's
can
not
make I
your
can make
expert.
less comments, maybe.
No, I can see it now. My eyes have adjusted. Tours is irrelevant.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, and so yeah. So, and I don't even trust him as an authority, but that's more evidence. And then I've seen his challenge, open end. He challenges them that if they'll show him where he's wrong, he'll take his whole channel down. Claude, that means that don't your experts, the people you are obviously worshiping, because they don't know. So, where are we going?
Oops.
Is this what you're
No,
talking
no.
about?
I just pressed the button that says test 20 comments. I didn't know what it would do, so it created fake comments. I'm sorry.
Fake ones. Okay, go back to that. That was
Can I
funny.
delete them? Okay, I cleared them, but it cleared the other ones too. But we didn't
No,
miss anything. It was Claude. It's okay.
no, oh my gosh, I'll have to go find them, because that was so funny.
Okay,
Dr.
you can
Force.
go. You can go to comments on the left side. They were just deleted from the.
Okay, yeah, here. I'll do my own show, given your proclivity.
Yeah, I'll do my own show.
To boot and block. Well, Claude, if you didn't come
Go,
up with
Detective
such,
Clouseau. Have your own show, please. Get
yeah,
out of here.
because, and as people have seen, if you actually have come at us, we're fine. But he believes in the flat Earth. It's like,
He
what does
has
that have to
nothing to
do with
come
the
with. That's why.
subject?
That's
Now, if
why.
we're
That's
talking
why. That's why he comes without hominems, because he has nothing.
exactly, and that's why I want to show it. Let's see. Here's this one. Okay. Oh, cool. I have this technology. And yeah, this shows that this is out of ignorance. This fallacious arguments is because you don't got it. You're the one, and it was cute. I was brought Philip to a drum lesson yesterday, and we're there, and this guy, he looks like, he said he was like around 30, I think 27 or something. You can tell, he was like a lot like Claude. He had issues, and but he was telling us like, oh yes, I learned this drumming, I've been doing that, and he was like, I learned how to play baseball. We started talking on baseball too, because I like to talk to people and show they have value, and he said yes, and if anybody here knows Barry Bonds, professional baseball player, no matter what you think, he got a steroids thing now, but in the day, it doesn't matter. Steroids could let you hit maybe a baseball, that little stupid ball, maybe 5 feet longer. The boy had just a gift. And so, so this guy is like, yeah, I almost hit one out. Well, I learned from Barry Bonds. He taught me, and it was so cute. It's like, he. And then it was funny because I'm sitting there, we're still talking, but then another lady came in and he was saying, yeah, I hit this plastic ball over the fence. And so it's like, God bless him, and I, just kept talking to him. I had another guy I knew. His was probably from drugs, they said, because he did a lot of drugs. But Sam, he was a great guy. He'd come in and he used to shoplift from this market that I helped out. And so the owner finally goes, Sam, do you want a job? And he's like, smiles, and he's like, yeah, I will give you, because he'd always come up with stuff, and he goes, I don't have money today. Can I buy it tomorrow? Or he'd just steal it. So the owner was like, I'll give you go sweep the parking lot out front, and I'll give you all this stuff. And so every day he'd come, he'd sweep the parking lot, he'd pick up garbage, and she'd give him not cigarettes or alcohol. And, but I talked to him a lot, and he had contracts with professional U.S. baseball and professional U.S. Football at the same time. God bless them. They're, it's like a lot of these, like Claude here, like I'm done. I hope he has a nice padded room somewhere. He can go and pretend all this stuff. He can pretend that he's agreeing with scientists, his authorities, and then he comes up with fallacious arguments. Yeah, go have your own show. So anyway, let's highlight some more because this is
Then
actually.
I'm gonna get out of here. It's 4 a.m. here, and the last thing I want to spend my last minutes before bed is worry for what Claude has in his dirty mind.
No, not worrying. This is exposing why we're working here.
Yeah,
Why?
but I'm
All right,
also.
I'll stop that, Ben. Let me get rid of him. Oh,
You
you.
can continue. You can even invite him on. I don't care. It's
No,
your show.
because he's proved maybe another day that he actually comes at us with
He'll come in and
evidence.
ask you where is your scientific paper.
Where is my diploma?
Where's
And
your
this is the thing, and
diploma?
this is why I love them talking about Kent Hovind having degrees, make believe degrees or whatever it is. It's like, dude, don't say that. Pretend he's like, because he's totally tearing down your religious like beliefs.
And
So you guys,
now that you mention that, there's a big difference between people like that and people like Big Bad Mama, who had another discussion with Kent Hovind the other day. And I only managed to watch 5 minutes of it. I think they went on for way longer. But he's so respectful to him when they are talking. Even if he interrupts him, he'll be like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, Ken Hovind, please continue. So I love that. Even if you still insist to think that this is science, as long as you don't ad hominem people and you don't overtalk people, you have my respect. That's why I have some respect for BBM.
no, and yeah, and he hasn't come back much since I called him out on doing the mocking video of the Holy Spirit, and he was like, "Oh, I was mocking you," and it's like, that was mocking the Holy Spirit. What are you talking about? And then I heard from somebody else that he did videos like that where he chopped things up and made the Holy Spirit look like he was a sexual pervert, like it seems like Claude is. And so he hasn't come back because I do like that most of the time. I did show that his inner heart is no different than anybody else on the planet. He's dark. He needs a savior like you and I did, like repeatable scientific evidence that everybody that calls on the name of the Lord truly will have an experience, a relationship with God Himself. And so, yeah, I miss BBM. Hopefully, I won't bring I can't bring that up again because that's the only reason I can think that he didn't come back because he showed. I mean, how embarrassing to make a video that the people you call your friends, he calls Christians friends. Not me right now, but he calls Christians friends, yet he made a mocking video saying that the Holy Spirit was did stuff without people's consent, which we know even in the worldly standard, the worldly morals of the day, that is disgusting. That is immoral. And BBM did it. So, okay, BBM, come on back in because he is a rational debater. He will ask those questions. And I won't bring up your transgression to morality again, BBM, because he does have some great questions. And again, I'm fine with that. He goes on to Dr. Hovind channel, and then he says his evidence. Dr. Hovind says his evidence, and then people can judge it. The key is going back to all of it stems back to morality. And where did that pop into existence? Like Christian was talking about the instinct of the beaver to build a dam, to be able to build a structure for survival. And was it instinct or was that a thought process? And again, both of them are just as complicated. No, actually, thought would probably be more. No, actually, I don't know. You guys tell me in the chat, what do you think is more complicated? That something evolved instinct to build a beaver dam, or something evolved the mind to be able to rationalize the design of the beaver dam and the ecology environment he creates. Just so cool. Well, if you're going to get out of here, it's already 3 hours. I wanted short shows that people could actually rewatch. We'll have to do some shorts though, because you look at nature, Romans 1:20, and I'll just bring that up again because it is such, this is 2,000 years ago, and the foundation for millions of people that just God, that's the creation, just nature itself shows forth the glory of God. What do you mean it can't be reached? Okay, let me do that again. For some reason, Romans is not coming up. Man, I wish I could type as fast as you.
I'm sorry, but there's another thing happening, and I'm on email, and I can't stall it. There's another. I want to talk to Krista because I think we have there is one thing that we are not dealing with as a ministry, and we need to deal with it more. And I'm hoping that with our new host, we're going to deal with it. And I want Krista, myself, and maybe that's the other person to focus a lot more there, which is depression is hitting people very hard these days. And we're not talking a lot about it. I want us to have some form of a show, of a panel where people will watch what we say, and then at some point be able to join and share their problem and talk to them about how simple it becomes when you understand that the problems that you have are designed for you. So, yeah, this has been on my mind as well.
I think that can be a great series, and it will be by Dr. Achilles.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself doctor, but I am a doctor in being depressed in my life. I did get that degree, I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, I know my stuff, and here's something funny. Depression is lack of hope. And recently, the Pope was asked on the 60 Minutes show, he was asked, where does he find hope? Does he see hope? And where is it? And he said, I see hope in people's hearts. There are good people out there. You, Dan, already got alarmed by that statement, because we know that the hearts of people are wicked. They can be sick. They cannot be trusted. If you don't have your hope in God and you have your hope in man, you're doomed. And there is a Pope that actually says that to billions of Catholics. To not have hope in God, have hope in man. And we have to expose things like that. This is unbiblical. Men are fallen. And if something depresses people, it's men. It's people. It's apathy. It's people that they don't give about you, a nickel about you. And the Pope is telling us, yeah, keep looking. There are better ones out there. So overall, yes, I do think we kind of need to do a show like that. And I think our sisters in Christ are going to help, because they have more skills than men do in empathy. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to jump out and I'll continue. I'm counting on you, sister. We gotta do this. And I'm looking forward to your show, which is about trauma. Yes, I just saw the comments, and as I was saying this, Angela was also in the comment section. Yes, I was referring to you, our new host, but I didn't wanna say your name out loud like that. But here we go. And I've been asking this from the previous year, from 2023. And we've had some women joining the ministry, and I had a backstage talk with them, and I asked them that we need to do a show like this where we can be practicing our empathy and talking to each other. And slowly there will be users that will feel comfortable enough to come in and share their problems with us. Amen. And for me, this is how I got out of depression, discovering that there is a God, that there is a designer behind my misfortunes, because he was shaping me to become a sword. And when you have to become a sword, there is a lot of hammering, and then they throw you in the stove again, and then more hammering, and then back in the stove. When you realize that there is somebody building this, you chill out and you stop feeling like crap. So
all things work for the glory to those who love God. And yeah, and you see those videos and they're so cool. And the blacksmiths, and they're pounding that, and the sparks are flying. Those sparks are part of the red hot metal that the forger wants to get rid of to make the best sword. And Achilles, it's just been such an honor to know you and walk through this last year on the same path.
Likewise, sir. Likewise.
Trying to
It's an honor.
Increase. I've seen Achilles trying to decrease so that Christ in him can increase.
Amen.
Hopefully you've seen Dan trying to decrease so that Jesus Christ living inside me will increase. And that's what we have. And that's why we're here. That's why, Achilles, you're not there watching the looking through your thing or your whatever you got there, that cool thing I want to see, looking at the moon or telescope, or riding your motorcycles, or being famous, or just sticking in your house and riding your own motorcycle up in the hills that you don't see anybody around you, nobody can hurt you. Yes, we're here being transparent for people, yes, to try to hurt us, but also that the Lord can use us, because when they leave this, they're going to have to sleep sometime, and they're going to be able to contemplate. It's like, wow, you know what? I'm not that happy inside. What's this Achilles guy that's fought with depression? And see, he must be a bad Christian. No, he's a good Christian because he is expressing it. He's confessing it. He's trusting in God to use it to make him a better witness, so more people can get out of whatever worries and struggles they have. We have an awesome God.
And we have been given different tasks. And every time I see your show, which is the designer perspective, and you are bringing new things that prove that there is a designer, it every time brings to my mind how this is the number one cause of people getting depressed, not seeing a designer in their lives. Because there's a whole system around them from Satan to convince them that they are alone, that they come from some randomness that had no purpose, and they are going into some randomness that has no purpose. And we recently made new discoveries, and we saw that in the center of the galaxy there is a black hole. So we are stepping into a black hole anyway.
Yes. So that no matter
that is not your destiny.
No, but I mean, but it's gonna our destiny is an end. And
this
and
world
so you
will end.
Yes, and you though, and we're gonna end probably before that, and maybe not.
Yeah.
So,
way
but
before.
Achilles, look at it. You were on a pinnacle of success in your motorcycle. Well, what do you call actually what you did? How do you motor?
Extreme enduro was my thing.
Yeah. So you were at a pinnacle. Anybody, I mean, known throughout Greece, anybody that followed that sport, and probably ones that didn't, and you can tell everybody that what if that was still your passion, your purpose in life, and what happened to those bikes? What happened to
I had given them up.
No, but I'm saying if you didn't,
before they burned.
I'm saying if that was your purpose in life, your purpose was racing, your purpose was driving yourself, designing, creating these bikes that performed better. You got parts that were better to build these bikes. It burnt. So even if that was your life, if you hadn't switched it to focusing on Christ, but if that was your life, how depressing. Your trophies, all your accomplishments, the goal, the end, all the paraphernalia, whatever you want to call it, all your little
memoirs,
all your little monuments to the great Achilles burnt.
Which, as I said on my latest video, I couldn't have more gratitude for having them burned, because it seemed like I was a little bit getting attached to a career, a self, and it is very hard to get rid of. Forest fires, on the other hand, make it very easy. But I had given them up a long time ago, when I started realizing that we are in the end times, and God was releasing a valve inside me with a couple of messages. It was a time where I lost people in my life from depression. They took their lives. And the fact that I wasn't there for them and I couldn't help them threw me in my own depression. So I got into depression groups and I let go of my bikes. And I started seeing that if you talk to little children and tell them and prove to them that there is a God, they leave the depression groups.
You mean there's
And
purpose? There's eternal purpose.
and
Is that
how
what
can
you're
you go
saying?
back? How can you go back to writing and to yourself when you see that there was this child, one of them in India, another one in Sri Lanka, that because I wasn't on my dirt bike, but I was on my computer, I managed to get them out of depression. God did through the discussion that he inspired. So later, when I decided to go back to them, this is when they burned. But the thing is that we have a higher calling, and once we, this is what Satan will do to get to for you not to find that higher calling. He will use his boot and step on your head and put it in the mud, and he will try to convince you that it's your fault that you're in the mud because you suck, because you are worthless. But if you pay closer attention, you'll see there's a boot on your neck. So, he's going to try hard to convince you that it's all your fault. And we have a responsibility. We have to wake up people to realize that this is a spiritual battlefield, and that's what the enemy general would do to soldiers.
But he is telling the truth to worldwide. He is telling the truth. If you do not have an eternal purpose, your life's worthless. You're
Yes.
worthless. So Satan will use part truths. Now he will say, "Oh,
And twist them.
follow,
Yes.
do this, this, and this, and then you'll have this purpose in life." No, the only purpose in life is following Jesus Christ that opens the door to eternity. Because
You know what?
otherwise,
I don't know how this came to this right now. But since Angela is also watching, I would like her to check out. I think I also sent it to her. A video I made in 2018. I'm not gonna show the whole video. I just want to show a small part, which is Lisa Bevere, I think it's her name, and she's a woman minister, which is I don't agree with, but I somehow love this one. Like her messages are always super good. So,
well, Colin, as you're bringing that up, let me read this.
Yeah.
Romans 1:20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and godhood. So they are without excuse. My video today and our talks with the beaver, if that doesn't show you evidence that did not come from chance, random, unguided processes, dude, go eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow you're going to be worm food, because that is evidence. You always say, give me evidence for God. The beaver
it's
guy.
everywhere.
Yeah, and that's just one example. We're going to keep going. We're keeping going. From the smallest insect to the smallest bacterias, life forms, to the whales, the largest creatures right now on Earth. Dudes, it's reaping intelligence behind those things. But again, we all have the same evidence. You believe that the awesome universe and the life within it happened by random chance, unguided mechanisms. knock your socks off. We will believe from the evidence, and it seems a clearer expression of the evidence is that it was designed. Fourth, it was intelligently thought about, designed, engineered, and yeah. And I just, again, if I had part of your faith, your religious like faith in imaginary mechanisms that we don't have throughout the whole process of your godless theories and beliefs, if I had a part of that faith, I could move mountains. I know it. So you gotta kill. Well, I'll be able to see it when it comes. But look at that. So, and this is okay. Here we go.
You have something more, or should I?
Oh, I was filling.
All right. There's a slight intro here. Tell me if the audio is okay, because then there is a message from Lisa Bevere, and I want those that are listening to think about this. This is a very simple example from the Terminator that she brings. Tell me if the audio is okay, and mute me when I press play.
Okay. Good volume.
How was the volume?
Volume was good.
Okay, mute me.
There we go.
Okay, I unmute myself for a second, and I'll tell you when to mute me. So here, there was another message from Lindsay Stirling. She's showing that as she is dancing, her shadow is dancing too, but at some point something changes, and the shadow calls the shots, and she moves as the shadow wants her to move. So she's trying to tell us something. Well, she was back in 2018, because she has changed now. But at the beginning, she had a very good message. But we're not here for this. So I hope Angela is watching this, and mute me.
The hostages.
You're too late. The countdown's already begun. In a few minutes, 4 city blocks. While the world watches.
Shut up! This is man's best hope. Down with the modern world. Back to the Dark Ages and the safety of holy fear.
There is basically a story
storyline in this that I need to unpack for you. It is the story of Sarah Connor. She is a moped riding waitress. Every single day she goes to Marie Calendar where she serves pie and coffee, and every single night she goes home and waits by the phone hoping some blind date's going to work out for her. That is until Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former governor of California and Maria Shriver's ex-husband, comes back from the future. And he has one goal in mind, and that is to assassinate everyone with the name Sarah Connor. And you know what? It doesn't look like he is going to fail, because he has in his possession the height of 80s data, which is a page torn out of the yellow book, and he is crossing them off one by one. When Sarah realizes she might be in danger, she did what a lot of us did in the 80s. She goes out to a bar. She's going to get lost in a crowd. Arnold shows up, guns blazing. But at the same time, as her assassin from the future shows up, her protector from the future shows up, and he grabs a hold of Sarah, and he says, "If you want to live, come with me." The Lego movie has rephrased this too. If you want to not die, come with me. Sarah looks at all the dead people, and she decides to leave with this complete stranger. And they're in the car running away from the relentless pursuing assassin. And the whole time the bullets are flying and chaos is going on, her protector from the future is trying to tell her who she is. He said, in the future, you're a hero. In the future, we fight with the strategies you wrote down for us. In the future, your son is our general. She's like, stop it right there. This is a horrible case of mistaken identity. I am a waitress. I don't even have a boyfriend. But he continues to tell her who she is until Sarah has a meltdown. And if you saw her hair, you would understand why. The 80s were an awkward time for a lot of us. Anyway, Sarah yells, "But I haven't done anything!" And her protector from the future looks at her and says, "No, but you will." And it was in that moment that I realized that the enemy of our souls often knows who we are long before we wake up and realize who we are. God handpicked each and every one of you for a time of adventure and danger, and it is going to get darker out there, but the grosser the darkness is, the greater the glory is that rises upon us, and we need to be people who understand the timing that God has chosen us to walk this earth in. And to that end, I'm going to share a quote by Wendell Phillips. Simple. Christianity is a battle, not a dream. And if you are going to be brave enough to dream, then you must be brave enough to fight, which just might be the reason why you have been entrusted with an invisible, invincible, eternal weapon. And it is time that you learned how to use it. God's word is a God sword. We have been entrusted with the language of our making. Do you understand that God does not watch over your worries to perform them? God watches over his word to perform it. And he has put his word in your mouth. And he is looking for a generation of women who will rise up and begin to declare his word boldly. Because the sword that we lift, we do not lift with our arms. We lift with the word of God in our mouth.
Okay, unmuted myself. Thank you very much.
That was powerful.
Depression is both a serial killer, but also a silent assassin, because nobody else can hear him whispering to you. And it all goes down to that fact that children today are being born inside this end times world, and they see no hope. And they're trying to cling on different people who tell them the wrong things. So I'm sorry. I took over your show like completely. I'm sorry. I don't know how we got there.
It was a good twist coming from the I'm hearing an echo, sorry. So, it was a good transition from the great, awesome, design we have, the evidence for the creator, designer, intelligent.
Can you hear my dogs barking?
I could.
Sorry for that. I don't know why they're doing that.
So is the echo gone?
I'm sorry?
No, it's not. Can you mute the other one? Because I'm having some weird feedback.
Didn't I? Oh.
There we go. Still weird. How's
one,
that?
1, 2.
There we go.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Do we hear me now? That's good.
Yeah.
So I usually struggle with multiple conversations going on in my head anyway, so we got through it. But thanks for that, Achilles. But we can see how the message fits is that the design and my design talks is not, just laser focused because again, it's the bigger picture. And so when somebody comes in and will instead of getting on our face with the evidence, getting it in like, well, what about this? Here's this paper from a scientist that said that there's a mutation. There's 100 mutations just in the beaver. We can trace back to get where we are today. No. I have not got one person bringing me substantial lists by peer-reviewed science papers of any substantial mutations because they're not there, but that's their foundation. And that's where, Achilles, you can come in and pretty well any direction we go with that is good. But I love it when you go to the heart of it, the problems that we as human face. And a lot of them, there's a lot of things that we face because of negative or neutral mutations, cancers, other diseases, issues in life, mental disorders. And we know that by your testimony, my testimony, God can help us through that. A lot of the depression is self-done. A lot of the depression is done because people have hurt us, nothing to do with ourselves. But what is the opposite? One of the opposites of depressed? Wouldn't that be like joyous?
Or enlightened?
Or well, but it actually just you're feeling depressed, you're feeling worthless. So
I see darkness. I'm sorry. I see depression as darkness. So the opposite to me to depression is enlightenment. Getting enlightened.
Good. And where
it is an interesting analogy because God is using it too in the Bible, talking about the light and the darkness, how darkness cannot exist where the light is. And if you have a dark room, but you have a lighter in your hand, and you spark the lighter, for that moment of the spark, the whole room is no longer dark. You can literally walk through a room or a house only with a lighter that doesn't light, and you only have sparks. So it doesn't take much. And this show, as other shows, are different sparks so you can see the light and you'll start getting enlightened. Not from us. We're not the light.
we were enlightened the same way, by God's grace, not by our works. We didn't deserve it, and nor do you. Nobody deserves it.
Right on. And just not even depression, because that's one of the horrible things that come upon us. But any of those things where Jesus would have said, that's a burden you're carrying yourself, and that he's here, his loving design is that he will take those for you. And whether it's worry, depression, anger, any of those negative things that science of medicine says is unhealthy for our bodies. And what did he say? He would take it from you. What did he say? He, through the Holy Spirit, will give you, if you surrender, he'll give you love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. All of those things are part of the light. All of those things Jesus is giving us without any strings attached, because he wants us to be the healthy mental and physical creatures that he designed. And again, it took smart people thousands of years past the less smart bronze aged goat herders or sheep herders, that, hey, wait a minute, they're the ones that wrote down what the word of God said, that gives us the peace, the stuff that the medical industry says we should do. But what great scriptures you put up there.
It's all over the Bible. God is telling us that he is the light. And if we use his word, it becomes a lamp in front of our feet and a light lighting our paths. He asks us in the same way to become light and shine before others, so that they see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven, who is the light.
Now, Achilles, what would you say to people that said that, that say that those that follow God, what would you say to those that say, if you bow your knee to this God in heaven that you proclaim, what do you say to those people that say that is slavery? That is making you do stuff you don't want to do. What made you depressed?
Well, I am a proud slave to him.
Amen.
So they are right on that one. But no, he never forces me to do things. The element of free will is always there. And I've learned as a faithful servant and slave that if I follow his will and not mine, it is always towards the benefit of others and myself as well. So I've learned to trust the will of my Father that sees more, of my master that sees more than I can. And when he tells me go there, I'll go there because I don't see better. For example, Dan is a designer of exterior areas, and I might want to do the same. I want to be like him. And he gives me a shovel and he says, go dig there. I don't like digging, but he sees a bigger picture of what I will accomplish by doing that. So if I start rebelling and saying, no, I just want to do what it is that you do, the work is not getting done. We have to trust the master, the one who is in control, and follow his will. So that's just pure understanding of how things work
how battles work, when your general tells you, I want you there, and you say as a soldier, no, general, I think it's better for me to be there instead of being there. You're going to go to court martial.
No, and if not gallows, because you look, and um, with that, do you feel better? I know with me, with when I'd be like have feelings of anxiety, especially before I was a Christian, but even after, I'd let myself go into anxieties, or I'd worry, or I'd try to scheme, how do I do this and how do I do, all those type of things. And it made me feel better when I'd like just cast my worries on him, knowing that he cares, know that he has a purpose for my life, know that with my life I can actually help other people. And what about you? Do you think you're getting more depression by casting your worries on God, trusting on him, or are you getting more or less depressed?
I'm no longer depressed. I do have some weird feelings. I can't call them depression, but when I see hills being taken, I see the victories, I see what he accomplishes, and I've learned to trust him at at the loss of my own understanding.
And he will be back, but I will also testify to anybody that hears this. Oh, good. Kelly's, I was going on too, that I will testify also that my the conditions, my mental conditions that medicine say is unhealthy, worry, um, stressing, all those kind of things that science says is bad for me. It's getting less because I cast those worries, the stresses, knowing I don't have to scheme about my next award, or the next meal, because I know God loves me and He showed me. He showed me the victory today. Oh, you weren't in the sermon today. Was on 1 John, but it brought up the word conquerors. That Jesus Christ is a conquered death. We can be conquerors with Jesus Christ and God. And what a great lesson that was. And you brought it up, is the victories we have. So we can see the novelly predicted um, comments in the Bible of what people would be going through, the stress, depression, all those harmful, physically, medically harmful attitudes we have on our body can be healed through Christ Jesus, our Savior. And that's why we're here. That's why I'm here. I know that's why you're here, Achilles, because we don't have the answers, but we got the answer. We have Jesus Christ, who is the answer.
I was backstage. I
Oh,
said
sorry.
exactly. We don't have to have the answers, even though he has given us a brain, and we just learn to use it. But what the answer that we needed to figure out is that he has the answers, and we have to let it go to him. So you see some tribulation taking place in your life, and you're trying to solve it, and you are relying on your strengths. You gotta say, I trust you. I trust that you know what you're doing. I'll just be patient and endure this as your word calls me to. And when you try that for once, because I know you don't, not you, Dan, but some viewer that is still not a believer, you haven't tried that. Try it. Take my challenge. Try telling him, I trust you. in this that you brought into my life, whether it is sickness, whether it is pain, emotional pain. I actually heard you talking on Pastor Jay's show today about protecting your heart, and on his previous show. The enemy is going to shoot at your heart because he knows he can stop you if he aims directly to your heart, and he's going to use people to do that. He's going to use that good looking woman that you met, but she likes your friend more than you, and your best friend didn't care about your feelings. So things like that are going to happen because he wants to stop you on your tracks. So when they do, just tell God that you trust what he's doing, and you'll see how things will turn around.
Amen. And the first one I did, because I was this just great kid, great human being, just a good guy all over. And the first question you'd want to ask this magic man in the sky, this thing that you do not believe in, that you mock, just have a serious conversation, because millions of people have had this conversation. Lord, show me if I'm a sinner. Show me if I'm not good, that I have no righteousness within myself. Ask that question. He will answer if you're doing it genuinely. If it's really from your heart, nothing to lose. And then ask what Achilles said. You can ask the creator. It is testable. It is novelly predicted, though, that the millions of people have confessed that, figured out that we are and have nothing good within ourselves, no righteousness at all. Novelly predicted that God would forgive you of that. You'll feel that forgiveness. You'll feel the guilt go away, and you will feel his presence, him dwelling inside of you. You will see yourself getting less and less, and the goodness, the love, joy, peace, all these novelly predicted phenomenon of the fruit of the Spirit. You'll feel that in your life. You'll see it in your life, and then on the other hand, and you'll know it inside you if you're just mocking God by saying that. And you might even have those kind of feelings, but you'll fall away from it, because it won't be genuine. So, Achilles, it's almost 4 hours. Just love hanging around, getting more and more out of the scripture daily. Started this morning at 6 a.m.
Yes, you did.
With
Did you go
six.
to church then?
Well, first I went to the fellowship and teaching with
Pastor
Pastor
Jay.
Jay.
Yes.
That'll be again tomorrow at 8:45 Eastern time. 8:45 Eastern time, to get an awesome uh, proverb of the day, which will be Proverbs 6. Oh, actually, he wants us to read it, which is a good thing. I want to read that before bed. Proverbs 6, and then he'll read it and he'll go over it with us. Great way to start my morning. And it was 6 a.m. Pacific time, and then going to church, and then taught a little Bible study for the sermon, and
I
then
might
came
I
on to
might
this.
join as well if I manage to go to bed soon.
Okay,
I
get
might
out of here.
join it
It's
as
worth it.
well.
And then I'll get more time with an awake Achilles.
We're getting synchronized.
Awesome.
Yeah, especially with this morning show. It is noon here, and the way we're going until my morning, thankfully I work from home and I don't need to be at a workplace. So we are beginning to sync up our time. So if I end up traveling to the US, I will not have to deal with a jet lag.
Just when you go back. Well, I just I just, want to thank God. Thank God for my friends. Thank God for fellow Christians that are my brothers and sisters, even though I've never met them in person. I would just like to lift up. We had Lupin come by. Sorry I didn't see him. If you're still here.
Oh, yeah, by the way, Lupin came in to tell us that our show was down at that moment. It was
Oh.
the latest clip with the beaver.
Oh.
It was copyrighted.
Oh, but it was a YouTube thing.
It is on YouTube, but you gotta be careful which channel it comes from. If it is an official big hotshot channel like National Geographic and stuff, they don't allow playback.
Oh, okay. So somebody told me if it was on YouTube. So we'll do that. I'm sorry, people.
It's
Okay, that's
okay. It has this good thing that it just stops it until you stop that video.
Oh,
So
good. Oh, they're getting. I'm glad for that then, because it is their platform. We're not doing it on purpose. What a great advancement in technology. But yeah. Then thanks, and God's best to Robin, and God's best to Claude, and Angela. God bless you.
Can't wait for Angela's show.
Yes.
I think I remember it starts Monday, which is tomorrow. I think so. I think she said on the 6th of the month.
Oh,
And
it
it
should
is
be
tomorrow.
scheduled.
It's probably scheduled.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can
Oh, I can't wait. And let's see, Lord, we just like you to bless Angela's show premiere, that those people that need to watch it will see it. We just pray that it goes out and to glorify you, Lord, and to touch hearts and souls and minds. And we'll just pray for everybody's night or morning, wherever you are, and God's rest to everybody. Amen.
Amen.
All right, sir. I will see you hopefully tomorrow morning.
Yes. Have a great night. And I'll see you soon, brother.
Okay. Let's see, do we have an exit thing? I will just exit out since it's 3.
I have it. Wait.
Oh, okay.